What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing on this lovely day? I can't find the way. So what's going on, man? So guys, today we're gonna be getting into fucking Nick Fuentes shit, man. Like, I'm not looking forward to this, like, at all. But whatever, man. For those of you that don't know, Nick Fuentes is a groiper, and he's someone who, like, has been growing more popular in the dark web for years, and essentially the leader of this, like, literal like neo-Nazi dick-sucking movement. But, like, also, like, sometimes he says liberal things, and you're like, what the fuck? He's just this weird little gay, like a Cuban kid or Filipino or Mexican, I can't remember, who's just got a white complexion and just leans really hardcore into it. But the worst part is that he's just a charming, witty, funny guy. So even when he says all of this terrible shit, people, like, are disarmed by him because he's kind of funny sometimes. Anyway, I've never advocated for canceling the kid. I think that you need to converse the ideas instead of try to hide them. But I'm not looking forward to his return. Anyway, let's do it. Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right.
Lay in their bed, doom scroll, they're chilling out. They're getting a little fat.
What's happening with the average man, bro?
They're getting a little heavy. And any guy that is playing the field these days will tell you that. I mean, and I know a lot of the chads. I am an incel. I'm friends with a lot of chads like Bradley Martin, Clavicular. They agree with me.
You don't have relationships, you don't have sex. When are they doing these terrible things to you that's made you so hateful towards women? I'm really curious. I think when a 27-year-old guy who's never got laid, never had a meaningful relationship with a woman, says that women shouldn't be allowed to vote, they should stay at home, that's a misogynist. Now, you may not.
Before we let Piers Morgan cook our boy alive here, he's not our boy. The internet's upcoming boy. Anyway, two disclaimers. One, I like Nick Fuentes a lot more than I like Hassan. That's just because Nick Fuentes is honest about what he thinks, mostly. That being said, I think Nick Fuentes is wrong on so many things. I think that the far right and the far left are both disgusting, but at least one of them are being honest about their disgustingness. But they are both my enemy. Anyway, and I had another thing, but I'm so high I forgot, so let's just get right into it. Piers Morgan is such a bitch. Okay, he's gonna do the same thing he does to everybody. Like, what really made Ben Shapiro blow up was the day that Piers Morgan brought Ben Shapiro on his show and tried to stand on the victims of the Sandy Hook shooting to justify his gun stuff. This guy does this, like, moral shit all the time, and I'm sorry, it might work for boomers and shit, but a majority of people are over the fake civility. It's just that it doesn't work. You tried it on Ben Shapiro, you gave him a career. You tried it on fucking Destiny, you only made him richer. You're going to try it on Nick Fuentes, you're only going to give him a bigger platform. You got to come at him with arguments. You got to get into the weeds. You got to go over the details in order to get someone like Nick Fuentes' people to, like, simmer the fuck down. You can't just go, for shame! How dare thee? You can't, you're not going to get anywhere. These people are okay being called Nazis. Do you think they're going to give a fuck if you're offended about their existence? People for years have said it's okay to assault them in the streets. You got to meet these fuckers where they're at, and you got to battle them on the ideas. Your failure to do so is going to create more of them, because some people are asking questions, and you need to have answers. Piers is not going to be equipped to have this conversation. I think, Nick is going to probably blow him out of the water. I want Piers to win this, but he's such a fucking moron that I don't think he's going to. He's too busy sucking Donald Trump's cock.
Understand it because your knowledge of women is so incredibly tiny, but actually you are the embodiment of a misogynist. It couldn't be clearer. You're just a bit of a lonely guy who wants to get laid and can't for whatever reason.
He can clearly get laid now.
He's welcome to Uncensored.
Hi, great to be with you.
I don't know you. I don't think we've ever met. You can correct me if that's wrong. I know about you. I know that increasingly people are talking about you in a more mainstream environment than you may be used to. Ooh. So for those of you who know nothing about Nick Fuentes, I want this to be an opportunity to get to the real person. I don't know who that person is, but I do want to use this opportunity to get there. I've seen you talk, as we prepared for this, in exchanges with people and on your show, saying you fear it's going to be very hostile, it's going to be an ambush, all those kind of things. I don't intend it to be overtly hostile. I don't intend...
It is definitely that, but you're just going for clicks. But, you know, calling out Nazis when they're Nazis is a good thing.
To ambush you. I intend it to be an examination of what you said on the record, an examination of what you believe, or what you say you believe, and an examination of what your rising popularity says about the state of the conservative movement in America. So those are my goals from this interview. What are your goals? Why are you doing it?
I thought it'd be interesting. And, you know, you've talked a lot about me on your show over the years, and this is the first time you actually extended the invitation. I think it might be the second, actually. I think we talked about doing it during A24 a few years ago, but you've talked a lot about me with the panel, and now you've extended the invitation to talk to me. And I think it'd be interesting for me to maybe clarify some positions and maybe get to know you a little better as well. So I'm looking forward to it.
No, they're both just doing this for money. Nick wants to get some mainstream relevance and to get outside of like the heel of being an unknown. And Piers is hoping to destroy an upcoming Nazi. It's just, you know, they're both being opportunists, but one of them is at least working for the right cause, even though typically he doesn't.
It's a belief that you have two personas. There's one that you roll out now for podcasts and for shows like mine, where you...
Oh, I wish people would say that to fucking Hassan, dude. I love it when he LARPs and pretends to be a liberal, but like at the end of the day, he's just not. I'm a social democrat. No, you're not, dude. We've heard you. You defend literal Nazis.
Come across as reasonable. And then there's your show on Rumble, where you often come across as having, you know, a very unreasonable view on things. This is what Coleman Hughes said about you.
Nick Fuentes knows exactly what he's doing. He is consciously playing this double game.
We got to be careful. I love this guy, but I think he's a conservative, so that's going to make some people mad. I love Coleman Hughes, bro. He's like the person I would listen to if I needed to go to sleep. If he just read to me like all my hate comments on the internet, oh my God, dude, not only will I come, but I will pass the fuck out.
Game as part of a long-term strategy to become popular enough to take the reins of power, at which point he plans to pivot towards the extreme and unpopular policies that he advocates daily on Rumble.
So first of all,
just as a heads up, and I know we got mind during the whole crypto, whatever Nazi fascist bullshit because of losers online.
True.
This is not how politics works. Stop putting he's right in chat. That's not true. Nobody is a crypto dude. It's not like people are like, he loves the Jews. What? Oh my God, the Holocaust. Donald Trump, oh, he's super pro-immigration. What? He's deporting everybody. Nobody does this. They have a top secret. You know why nobody does this? Because if you got elected and you changed 180 degrees, all of your fan base would abandon you, okay? You can't get a whole fan group of people, a whole follower group politically, and then change all of your views as soon as you get political power. I don't understand. It's such a stupid, you guys did this, even my chat did this, and I'm so disappointed you guys. Did this a lot when it came to the Sam Hyde stuff, where you guys are always like, oh, he's just joking, or he's being ironic. No, what do you mean just joking, or just being ironic? It's like saying like, oh, that guy's racist. No, he's not racist, he's just saying a combination of words. It's so retarded. When people joke, or when people do satire, they're satirizing certain things, they're joking about certain things. The jokes have a point. Different jokes work in different communities. Different jokes are funny for different reasons. Sometimes they're funny because they're bigoted or racist. Sometimes they're funny because they're making fun of bigoted or racist, extreme, whatever. But like, you can't just write it off. You're like, oh, they're just joking. Oh, they're being crypto. Oh, they're blah, blah, blah. Like, when Nick is telling jokes, and this is this stupid trap that everybody falls into. When Nick tells a joke about whatever bullshit cookie, I don't know. I don't watch his stuff as frequently. I only see clips. But whenever he tells jokes on stream, you can't just write those off by either saying, that's his 100% true, solid belief, and I'm going to attack him on it, or that was just a joke. It doesn't mean anything. LOL. It's probably, it's a bit hyperbolic. It's a bit extreme, but there's like a ton of truth inside of it that the joke represents, right? Yep. What is, there's like some.
Like, that's how I have a list of like 10 reasons why Donald Trump got elected. And one of them, because I was calling the election long before it, dude. I knew that Kamala was never going to win. Just wasn't going to happen. You could feel it. I live in swing states. Everyone was involved in politics. People that didn't even know about politics were talking about how much they hate Joe Biden. The Republicans managed to like sweep anti-Joe Biden rhetoric through like the entire internet, through dipshits like Joe Rogan. Okay? So many people got brain rotted by one dog shit podcast. It's actually insane. The things people joke about are often the things that they care about. By shitting on Joe Rogan, or I mean Joe Biden with jokes, like, let's go Brandon, shit like that. All that shit. Putting it in the cultural zeitgeist while tensions were rising, while, economics, our economic recovery was slower than people wanted, seeing rising prices while also putting a lot of animosity onto the president and then him having a few gaffes like on camera. It sealed the deal, bro. There was no going back. And if anyone tried to defend it, it just wasn't going to work, dude. But the things we joke about kind of like inform that shit. Like, if you got a guy who makes nothing but jokes about like fucking 10-year-olds, you probably have a problem. If you got a guy who always makes jokes about date rape, you might want to check that motherfucker's closet or something. If you got a guy who every joke he makes is about, horse dildos, then that guy might have a fetish for horse dick. You know what I mean? Like, that guy might be Vosh. But either way, none of that matters. It's just the things that people joke about kind of like infer who they are. You know what I mean? Like, there are red flags everywhere. People can pay attention to this shit, but that doesn't mean like you have like... It's hard for people, right? Like, people like, you can see red flags, but that doesn't mean like you can be like without like unequivocal that guy is that. But like, you can have like, I have on good authority that I think this motherfucker is that. That doesn't make him that. Just, people kind of like overcommit to things.
A meme saying, old saying of like, there's a little bit of truth in every just kidding, ha ha ha. True. But when people are incapable of engaging at this level, it's just so annoying. I don't know what this interview is going to be like. And maybe it'll be a good interview. I'm not shouting at Piers necessarily. But when the whole stuff just becomes trying to catch somebody of like, oh, but didn't you say this like 5 years ago? Oh, didn't you say this 10 years ago? Oh, didn't you say this? Like, that might work for some people on the outside who aren't familiar, but with his own fan base, it doesn't work. I don't give a fuck about this. And for a lot of people, they might just not care that much, depending on the issue that you're hitting on. Yep. Destiny, isn't that your model of Hassan, though? Yes. But Hassan is not trying to gain political power, and Hassan is never going to 180 switch once he's got political power. That's not Hassan's model. Some people are grifting in that they don't necessarily believe in what they say, but there are predictable reasons for why they do it. There might be a media environment that's rewarding them or something like that. Like, look, where are the incentives? Nick doesn't have a lot of those strong incentives. He's pretty, in my opinion, at least from what I've seen, he's fairly honest about what he believes.
Yep.
Maybe I am misunderstanding what you're saying here. Are you saying it's not possible to maintain a mask on persona? No, you can be like mask on a bit, and that you might feel a little bit more extreme maybe than you let on, and you'll be a little bit more extreme maybe than you let on, like a little bit. But if you have a mask on persona where you're legitimately trying to hide because of bad, like feedback, then even when you're in power, you'll still try to hide that because you don't want your fans to stop following you. You don't want your political followers to stop supporting you. There's just this very naive concept where people are like, oh my God, he's saying all these things, but once he gets in office, he's going to transform into this crazy whatever monster. It's like, no, if he's going to be the monster, you'll see it before. It's not going to be a random thing that pops up. Yep. All of this to say, if there are things that he's saying that you don't like, then confront the things that he's saying.
Yes, get into the weeds. Okay, so he's saying the same thing that I was saying at the beginning. That Piers Morgan is going to come at him and be like, you made this joke and don't you feel ashamed? And like, dude, the guy's okay with being called a Nazi. He's okay with being called whatever slur you throw his way. He doesn't care. He owns it openly on the internet. Confront the ideas. Try to point out to his audience where he's wrong. That's it. If you can show a hole in his argument, there's a good chance you can change someone's mind. It may not change overnight. It may not change within a few days, but you can start putting holes in people's persona. And that's what you have to do with people like Nick. You got to battle him on the field because he's charismatic enough to earn people even when he says vile shit. And if your attack vector is "How dare you, sir," he's gonna keep doing it, and people are gonna keep liking it, man.
Just confront them. Fight them on those points.
What is your response to that?
Well, first of all, I would say that Coleman Hughes is a propagandist. He works for the Free Press, which is run by Barry Weiss. So I think that...
Hold on. Destiny, if you watch this interview, he says it could be more than 6 million. Never heard him say that until this interview, because it's a joke. That's a joke. It's like saying, like, oh, that's like the meme of, like, there's a hot Jewish girl in front of you and you whisper under your breath. It's like, I think it was more than 6 million. Like, it's, come on, stop. Just like when somebody says, like, how many people died in the Holocaust, and you're like, exactly 6 million. Exactly 6 million. Not one more, not one less. That's a joke. When I say it's a joke, do you understand what I mean when I say that? The joke, the reason why that's funny, the thing that you're making fun of there is that the narrative of the Holocaust that has been instituted by the Jews that have been traditionally in control of the United States, the media, and our education, and especially our educational institutions, have mandated such a stringent connection, such a strong adherence to the Jewish narrative surrounding the Holocaust, because it absolutely must be true in order for AIPAC to maintain its unquestioned superiority in the United States, and for things like BDS to exist beyond the question of the ordinary American citizen, and for America to give infinite support to the country of Israel, that the narrative of the Holocaust has to exist and has to be protected in such a strong manner. So when you ask me how many Jews died in the Holocaust, whatever they said last, whatever number they said, that's the one I'm going to give, because it's definitely exactly, that's the joke, right? I don't know why I shouldn't have to.
Whoa.
Well, first of all, I would say that Coleman Hughes is a propagandist. He works for the Free Press, which is run...
Well, I would say the first joke is that people can believe that. Jesus Christ. But yeah, of course. The problem is when people are like anti-science or evidence or anything like that. Like, the Germans kept a lot of records, man. They thought they were going to win the war, bro. You know, they were proud of what they were doing. And then some of them came to America to work for us. They weren't ashamed of it, man. But people don't do this anymore. They don't operate in facts. They can just invent their own worlds and they can explain it all away. The human mind is like this amazing creation that it can justify fucking anything.
Run by Barry Weiss. So I think you have to consider the source. And Barry Weiss is a pro-Israel partisan. Free Press is just bought out by CBS for $150 million by Larry Ellison or his son David Ellison. And so I think that's coming from a particular point of view. We can't pretend like that's coming from a vacuum or from some fixed position. That's coming from a propaganda outlet that's in favor of Israel. That's first. But second, I would say he is right about the two personas. And I think that everybody understands this on some level. On my show, I make...
Yeah, he's not gonna run from any allegation you throw at him. Like, why would he? You can't cancel him. He can just be honest. You know what I mean? Like, no one's going to come after Nick Fuentes unless they're going to try and kill him. Because, like, his money is solely funded by his viewers, man.
Jokes, and I use rhetoric, and I'm hyperbolic. Because for a long time, I had an audience that was small on these, like, dissident platforms. I was on D-Live for many years. A lot of people don't even know what that is. And so I had a small following, and we had sort of like an in-group sense of humor and memes and things like that. And you talk about it one way on a freewheeling live stream when I'm by myself and I'm ranting and we make jokes and we play devil's advocate, we play with different positions. But then when you sit down in an interview like this one and people ask me a good faith question, what do you actually believe? Well, then I clarify and I say, well, here I'm not joking. Here I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not being rhetorical. I'll tell you precisely what I believe. As far as this idea that I'm going to get power and then turn into... That just sounds totally insane to me. I'll be honest. It just sounds insane.
Do you have aspirations for political power?
Like, so the response is push him on his actual beliefs. When you joke about this, what do you mean? Do you think that this is true? Do you think it's not true? Like, that's the...
Not really. I think that if I wanted to run for office, I wouldn't say a lot of the things that I say. I don't know that a lot of people would vote for me. I tend to offend everybody, even a lot of people that like me. So no, I'm a truth teller. I like to tell the truth. I like to do my live stream.
Who is Nick Fuentes? Tell me about your upbringing. I know you grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. Tell me about your early years.
Oh.
Early how? Like my childhood or a little bit
your
later?
childhood, yeah.
Well, I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago in LaGrange Park, as you say. My parents are ethnics. You know, my father's half Mexican, half Irish. My mother's Italian. And they both came from a pretty rough upbringing themselves. They both were raised by single mothers, not because of divorce, but because both of their fathers had died. They endured a lot of dysfunction. And I think that's one of the reasons they came together and they related to each other and they wanted to create a normal upbringing for their children. They wanted to have a normal family life. And so they moved out to LaGrange Park away from the city and they raised me and my sister. And really put us first. I think that's a big reason why I tend to have a lot of these family values or Christian values. My mother quit her job and stayed at home to raise us. And so I have a very close relationship with my parents, with my sister. We're a very tight family. And we grew up in a pretty idyllic town. And maybe we can sort of get into a conversation about politics from this. I loved my upbringing. My mom stayed at home. My dad was working. We're in a mostly white suburb in Chicago. Everybody was maybe half Catholic, half Protestant. It was a baseball town. I played baseball for many years. In Chicago, we love our hot dogs. We have our baseball parade and get a hot dog. And so I love where I came from. I love the city. It's a working class city. I love the people here. They're very good, humble, down to earth, decent people. And I guess I had my political, not to jump ahead, but this is a big part of where my political awakening came from. I sort of left this bubble, if you could call it that. When I went to college in 2016, I went to Boston University and I read a lot of things online and I realized the country does not look like LaGrange Park. It doesn't look like Western Springs or Hinsdale or Elmhurst. It looks very different. The country's undergoing a radical transformation because of immigration. And so I saw that and I said, this is not really a desirable change. I don't like the South Side of Chicago or the West Side or LA or certain parts of Boston as much as I like where I came from. And I guess that's what made me an American nationalist. I said, I want to preserve my home.
It boggles my mind that people can make such a ridiculous argument. I'm sorry, dude. Who the fuck wants to live around nothing but white people? Like, what the fuck, dude? That sounds terrible, man.
And the things that are familiar to me and the things I like about my home, what makes it America.
That was such a word game. I don't know if Piers will catch this. I don't know what kind of mode he's in right now, but it's funny that Fuentes, I feel like Fuentes changed something spatially that's actually different in time, where he said he went to a different place and he realized it wasn't like his hometown and that everything was being lost. And I was like, well, no, hold on. You just went to a different place. What do you, of course it's not like the place you just came from.
So that's a little bit about my background. I don't know where you want to go with that, but
well, I
that's
suppose my first obvious question is: were your parents immigrants to the United States, or were their parents, or were their grandparents? In other words, at some stage, I presume
Farmer, what's up, dude?
There were immigrants in your family who came to the U.S. Is that correct?
There were. I believe my mother was fourth generation and my father was third generation. So their ancestors came here on my mom's side in the 1860s, I believe, the first wave of Italian immigration. My father's ancestors, I think they came around the turn of the century in 1900.
So your view of immigration, and we'll get to the specifics about your views on immigration, are they not affected at all by the fact that if it wasn't for immigration, you wouldn't exist as an American?
Come on, dude. What a stupid question. He has a problem with non-white people, dude.
Well, I would certainly exist, but like I said, maybe not as an American. Certainly that's influenced in some measure. But I think that the kind of immigration that we had for a long time in the country, it's different than the immigration that we have now. And let's just say for openers, it's different immigrants. They're coming from a different place with a different culture, a different religion. It's not the same as it was. So first, you have a qualitative difference. My ancestors, for the most part, I have 3 European grandparents from Ireland and Italy, 1 from Mexico. They came from Europe. They came from a society where there's a common ancestry, there's a common religion, common civilization. The people that have come in since 65, since Hart-Celler, they're coming from China, India.
Oh my God. How does Piers walk right into this? You just let him give out like the best argument for like racism. I really hope you're gonna tear this down.
The Northern Triangle, Mexico, Venezuela. And so first, they're just different people. Secondly, it's a quantitative difference. There's way more, and it's an unceasing, always increasing wave. For the first 3 or 4 waves of immigration, you would have a major influx of immigrants, and then it would stop. And then you'd have another wave, and then it would stop. This one, it just keeps going up for 35 years, and it's too many. So that's really where I would draw the distinction between maybe where I originate from. I would even just simply call that immigration. What this is an invasion. It's a completely different policy.
But you mentioned Mexico in that list, and your father is half Mexican. So,
yeah.
I mean, by your criteria, part of the invasion would include your father, presumably, and his immediate descendants who came from Mexico.
Not really true, because when my father's ancestors...
Like, he kind of already addressed...
You're just re-asking the same
I need to show everyone up for this. Because he already kind of clarified that distinction, right? Now it's an unceasing wave of never-ending immigration after they always point to this 1965 Immigration Act, but when my family came, it was different. They always have like an out for this.
Came here, it was a small fraction of the total immigrants that came from Mexico. I don't believe that we should have 0 immigrants forever, or even 0 immigrants from non-white countries. Yep. But you have to draw the distinction. My father's father, he was here in the...
You have to be prepared for this, man. You really do. Like, Jesus Christ, Piers.
In the 40s and 50s. It was his parents, or I believe either his parents or grandparents that came here even earlier. Up until 1965, 90% of the immigrants were coming from Europe. I have no problem with that. If we have 10% of them coming from Mexico or Latin America, maybe that's reasonable, but that's not what it is now. Now you've got 10 million illegals in 4 years under Joe Biden, and you got millions more legal immigrants from China, India, Venezuela, El Salvador, and it's so many with no break for assimilation, and they're all from non-white countries. It's transforming what America is. And again, that's the distinction. That's what makes it unacceptable.
I always believe every...
Just watching the political apocalypse. Yeah, dude. This is getting... So their argument is that the reason why whiter countries or countries that have more similar religions, Catholicism and stuff like that, things that are based on what they would argue is Western values, the reason why the way their argumentation works is going to be that there's going to be social cohesion here between these two people. Like, we're very much European here in the West, or here in America. And moreover, we literally hail from those lands. We get a lot of our origins from those lands. So they're going to say that we have a better cohesive capability. However, they overlook the fact that there are thousands, millions of amazing Muslims that live across the United States of America, in Israel proper, and in Canada. They already show that they can assimilate very well. Many of the people that immigrate to our country do so and perform better than those that are born here. Our natural born citizens are more likely to be drug addicts, more likely to commit crimes, more likely to cause problems. If we want a better society, immigration so far is going to prove to be a good thing. And with less and less people having kids, immigration is going to be a necessity.
Everybody's a product of their environment. Right? I've interviewed thousands of people. Maybe 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people from all different walks of life. But the one common theme I would say is everyone's a product of their environment. And I was reading some stuff about you in the last few days. There was an episode of your podcast where you talked about your father, Bill Fuentes, and how he wouldn't take the family, including you, to certain restaurants because he believed they were associated with African Americans. We would be deciding where to go to eat, you said. What are we going to do for dinner tonight? It was a running joke. Me and my sister would say Applebee's, and my dad would say we would never eat at Applebee's. Not in a million years should you be caught dead, Fuentes said about Applebee's. Go to a different restaurant, a local restaurant, no Applebee's, no Red Lobster. That is commonly known as black fare. And you also shared another story about your family and restaurants. Said before me and my sister were born, my family had a saying about Olive Garden that contains the N-word.
Man, I can't believe that 20 years later, Piers is doing the same shtick. Do you think this is going to damage Nick? The real reason we can't sustain immigration is because AI and robots will cause... That's cool. I'm an AI simp, man. Bring that AI on, bro. AI can do the job quicker, faster, and more efficient. As a capitalist, I'm about that shit.
That we're not allowed to say. So my question, based on that anecdote that you say on your own podcast, is do you think you grew up in a racist environment? That your father was inherently racist and that thought process moved to you?
We all grew up a little racist. I don't know. What's the...
Well, I would say it's a new low. I've been attacked for being a racist many times, but to attack my father, to attack my parents based on anecdotes, I would say that's sort of a new low.
Hang on, it's your anecdote.
Yeah, but he's...
Oh my God, dude. Why is him and Kathy Newman are doing the same thing? See how he's going to have this shit-eating grin this whole time? He's unfazed.
Not here to defend himself.
You are.
And my parents are.
You told the story.
And I will. And
I'm not trying to ambush you. As I said at the start, Nick, to be clear.
No, it's not an ambush.
Nick, to be clear,
I think
I'm not
understands.
ambushing you. I'm literally reading an anecdote that you revealed on your podcast. It's you that's put it in the public domain.
I know.
I'm simply asking you whether my assessment of that, which is that your father didn't want to take you to certain restaurants because of what you refer to as, they were commonly known as black fare, whether that attitude to African Americans in that instance permeated to you. It's a reasonable question.
Yeah, no, like I said, I think everybody knows what that is, but I'll address it. I'll engage with it, and I'll defend my father from the charge of racism.
Sure.
No, my parents are not racist, and they've never been racist.
Right.
I'll tell you about my parents. They used to have a school in Chicago in the South Loop where they instructed people on how to shoot firearms. It was a security school, and most of the clients were black. And I believe actually one of their clients was Larry Hoover's son at one point, sort of a funny story. And so most of their clients would come in from the South Side of Chicago. My grandmother, she grew up in the projects in the city. And so my family being in Chicago, being ethnics, being Italian, Irish, Mexican, in the West Side, on Taylor Street, all over the city. My family for many generations have lived near and around black people. And look, my views about black people and their views about black people are shaped with experiences with black people. And what they will tell you, what my parents would say if they were here, is that for many, many years, the older generations of black people were very respectful, very humble, very decent. In fact, my grandma used to have an anecdote. She grew up in a lot of dysfunction. Her mother was mentally ill, and they would be having dinner in the projects, and there'd be so much chaos and dysfunction and disagreement and fighting. And she would look across the way out the window at a black family in the other apartment, and they'd be holding hands around the table saying grace. And this is sort of the culture that used to prevail. But now what you have in the city is that there's no accountability for the black people. And now
nobody seems to have a plan for what to do with the masses of useless eaters, as one think tank calls them. And they'll just create more jobs, man, to maintain and handle the AI. Because people are still going to have to write prompts and maintain it, control it. Like, it's going to take years for AI to take off to the point where it's going to shut down everything. And the government's going to make sure that it's slowly rolled out, man. Like, it's all good, bro. People stress about things like this. But I've been hearing the same story. AI drivers are going to take truckers off the road. I heard that 10 years ago. I heard that 20 years ago. 30 years before that, I heard immigrants are going to take all the truckers off the road. Bro, everyone's got a horror story because it's easier to be scared about the universe. No one knows what's going to happen. The AI bubble could burst. Billions of dollars are being sunken into it right now, and they're not returning profit. It's alone propping up our entire society. If it bursts, millions of people will lose a job anyway. So if we shut down AI, we go belly up. If we continue with AI, people don't work. It's fuck up the whole system and do what we can as we work on it.
Now Chicago has become a complete dump because these teenagers go out and they take over the city. They call them teen takeovers. That's the euphemism for it. They're teenagers, but they all come from the same neighborhood. They drive up there and they mug people and attack people and they destroy cars and destroy shops. We had the Festival of Lights a couple of weeks ago. It's supposed to be a family event. And they light up the trees and they, there's a big parade. I was in the parade one year and you had a bunch of black people there shooting each other. 7 people shot, a 14-year-old killed in the Magnificent Mile. And I know there's a lot of black people that feel the same way about this. They say, we've lost control of the city and we're looking for accountability. We have a lot of black people that are always outraged about racism, outraged about attitudes from white people, but they're never ashamed of some of these behaviors, never ashamed of some of the things that go on. And that's why I think there's a lot of negative attitudes these days. And so, again, I think those attitudes, you say I'm a product of my environment. I am. And so are my parents and my grandparents. Unlike you, because you're not even American, in Chicago, we have to live in a big, diverse city where there's a lot of different kinds of people. And
I live in a big, diverse city. I live in London. It's one of the biggest and most diverse cities in the world.
But it's not the same.
Well, actually, it's a big diversity. The only difference is we don't have the gun violence because we don't have guns. That's a whole different story. I don't want to get into that with you. I have got into that before.
You got
America.
A knife problem. You got sword problems.
We have problems with
Aladdin.
We have problems with violent crime. I make no pretense of it. So the idea that somehow I'm cosseted in London.
You even let him get in a racist joke about Muslims and you didn't even backfire, dude. Because obviously he would say that the reason why the knife crime is so bad is because of the massive amount of Muslims that come in and commit knife violence. Problem is, he just called one of the motherfuckers a Latin. He literally said a racism, and Piers was too dumb to catch it.
Because I'm not in Chicago.
I didn't say that.
Well, you kind of implied it, but I guess my...
That what Fuentes just went off there. I'm sure he's inspired somewhat by neocons. I'm sure he's a little bit jealous of or envious of because there was definitely a higher IQ movement than the MAGA of today. But that loops back into it used to be an old conservative talking point of before we had civil rights, like the black family was a stronger family. Like after the Civil Rights Act and after the modernization of the American black man, you start to see the families falling apart and you start to see all of this crime and everything else. And this didn't happen back before civil rights or whatever. It's kind of a little bit related to that point. I don't know if he exactly meant it that way, but
point about the environment. I'm not saying you are a product of your environment. I'm saying most people are in some capacity. Mm-hmm. When I read that anecdote, it's just to remind you, it's not something I have put out there. You told this story, right? And you said that
you said this. We're looping. You said this.
No, but you haven't really directly, I think, responded to it, which is whether your father would not take you to certain restaurant chains because he associated them with black Americans. Is that true?
No, well, see here, if you're in America, you would say that Olive Garden is not real Italian food. Applebee's, TGI Fridays, and stuff is a load of crap. My dad was just a food snob, but no, it's got nothing to do with that. My best friend in first grade was a black guy. We're not a racist family. So
okay, so when you told the story, I'm just curious. So when you told that anecdote, which clearly on the face of it is racist, right? You're basically saying your father made racist decisions about where you would go as a family to eat. Are you saying? No. Well, I'm just going to ask you a question. Are you saying that when you told that story, you didn't mean to infer that he was racist? And do you understand why when somebody like me reads that anecdote for the first time, as I did this week, I reach a different conclusion?
Arm, dude, show.
Well, I understand what you're doing, which is a sort of making of a murderer. How did he become racist? Well, his father didn't eat Olive Garden because he said that's not real Italian food. Hang on, can I?
I'm literally reminding you of something you said on your show, which led me to conclude a certain thing. If I'm wrong, tell me.
Yeah, it was said in jest as a humorous anecdote, and now you're trying to spin it into a narrative, which is his parents are racist. He comes from a long line of racists. And I think everybody knows my parents are boomers. And these people come, well, you're a boomer, I guess, too, in a way,
60.
right? You were born in 19, yeah, so you're a boomer also. Or maybe you're a Gen Xer. I suppose it's sort of on the cusp. But it's a humorous anecdote.
Piers is so unequipped for this conversation, dude. You cannot... His audience doesn't care, dude. Anyone can see that you're doing a hit piece right now. Why are you denying it? Why don't you just come out and say, I think you're a morally disgusting, vile sack of fucking shit. And you're right. I do agree that I do think that your father was racist because of these statements. And you're right. I am trying to show America that you're vile and fucked up. See, the difference is Nick Fuentes is going to own the shit. And you're like trying to be on like holier than thou, and it's not gonna look good, man.
No, these are kind of the attitudes of baby boomers in society, but you're trying to spin it into a narrative, which is you're a product of your environment. Your dad's racist because of this joke. Now you're a racist, and I don't think that's a fair characterization.
Okay, people can make their own minds up. They can go back and listen to you say it. I mean, the beauty of what I'm going to talk to you about in this interview is that almost all of it is just going to be reminding you what you have said and asking you what you meant. Your position about that story is that it was a joke. Okay, you've also said you don't want to live near black people. Let's take a listen to this clip.
I'm a new generation of white person. I'm not living around blacks. Sorry. You know, I want white kids, and I don't want my white kids bringing home black people to marry. It's racial for me.
Jesus Christ, dude.
And call me racist. Oh, very Christian of you. I don't give a
I mean, it couldn't be clearer, really, unless you want to say that's another of your jokes. But you're basically saying, yeah, I'm a racist, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
You're fine with saying you're a racist?
Totally. I think everybody's racist. I think everybody, if we're being honest, is racist. I think everybody, the only people that aren't racist or pretend not to be are white people to their detriment. Everybody else is racist.
But earlier in the interview, you really got aggrieved at the idea that your father was a racist. You wanted to make emphatically sure
my father's...
He's not.
Because my father doesn't share my same views on that.
So he's the exception to everyone's a racist.
Well, everybody's a little bit racist. You're right. So maybe everybody... The difference is you're attacking my father. You know, he could get fired from his job.
I'm not attacking your father.
You are.
No, I'm not. I don't know your father. And to be clear,
How do you argue that?
It's a clash of generations. The left swing of the pendulum has started a natural swing right. There must be balance. The scary part is the pendulum was extremely far. I would agree, dude. Yes. Yes, I am a Democrat. But I've been against the left and the left's massive level of overreach for years. Yeah. Yeah, because the far right, they like the far left, man. Like the worst part is, dude, the reason why the left is a rough one, dude, is it's hard to be mad at them. Their far left swing was in an attempt to settle injustices and inequalities that they thought existed. But they did it wrong. You know, you can't affect the market in the way that they did. You can't go after people's jobs. You can't tell people what to think and how to think. You can't hide away the terrible shit that's happened in our past. You can't put someone like Nick Fuentes in the dark corners of the internet. Because if he's got an audience and it's growing, someone will find a way to monetize him. Or he'll do it for free. Like, social media is a thing, man. We needed to be better equipped for this shit. The far left made a lot of bad decisions, and we're paying the price for that now. And all we could do is hope that the far right, because they're already in power, they're already swinging right, dude. Businesses are already pulling out a lot of their shit. A lot of the stuff that the left has fought for fucking years is now in the crosshairs. With the left, when the left gets control again, they owe it to themselves not to do the same dumb shit they did before. The problem is people are stupid, and they will.
The 1350 stuff against Fuentes' position? I'm pretty sure the 1350 is a bit exaggerated, but like those are the easiest GED, like IQ threshold things to own, right? When somebody comes at you like, what do you say about the fact that more blacks commit more crime? Like, what do you think we should do? I don't lock them up. I don't know. Somebody murders somebody does some crime, lock them up. If they're black or whatever, who cares? Like that's the easiest threshold question in the universe. To play games around that is such a losing position. It's a loser of a position. Like, yeah, people do bad. Lock them up.
Yep.
I have no knowledge about him at all.
Well, then let's leave him out of it. Let's leave him out of it if you don't know him.
Hang on, Nick. You put that story into the public domain on your show. I'm simply reminding you of what you told everybody, millions of people, about your father. If you now want to retract it, fine. If you want to say it was a joke, which is what your position was earlier, fine. But I'm allowed to put to you things you've said publicly. That's not unfair. That's not me targeting your father. You put that story about him out
You know
there.
what you're doing. You know what you're doing.
I'm asking you about a pretty shocking anecdote, which to me looked like you were saying your father made decisions about where you as a family would eat based on skin color of people who worked at these places. If you say, or use them, if you say that is not what you meant, that's fine. You can respond any way you like. But the idea I can't ask you about it without you saying I'm attacking your father is ridiculous.
Well, you are, and you know what you're doing. And there's a political culture in America where if you have the wrong views, you get fired from your job. And my father has a job. And if you go on here and say, you charge him with racism or something, and I'm put in a position where I don't look like I'm sticking to my guns if I don't say my father's a racist, you're putting him in jeopardy, and he's not here to defend himself or explain his views. And it's very low, and I think you know exactly what you're doing, and people can see what you're doing. I'll defend my views, and I think that, so let's leave him out of it. Let's just not talk about my father because my father isn't here. I'm here.
Okay, well,
I'll
then do you
defend
accept
my
that you
views,
shouldn't
and I'll
talk?
defend
Okay,
the anecdote.
listen, that's fine. But then do you accept you shouldn't talk about your father on your show, and you shouldn't tell?
Absolutely not. Absolutely
so
not.
It's fine for you to put a story out there which would make most people who listened to that story or watched it at the time on your show conclude that he was racist. It's fine for you to do that, but if I then ask you about it, I'm the one who's being unfair and I've crossed a line. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay,
yes, you're being malicious.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Listen, people are watching this live. They can draw their own conclusions about whether what I just
Piers.
said. Yeah.
Nikki, what's up, girl? We had to go all the way to Regina today, bro. It was terrible. And then I have to drive again out Thursday. And then I have to drive him to the airport Friday, bro. And then I'm home alone for a whole week, man. What am I gonna do without my baby? You know what I mean? Shit. I'm buying alcohol. That's what I'm doing.
I'm sure afterwards, by the way, you'll say, he ambushed me with your own words.
Whoa.
With your own words.
That's a little presumptuous.
With a R-E, girl. Regina, not vagina, dude. Damn.
I'm not going to say it's an ambush, but I think that's a low blow. And I think
I was joking. I'm not getting drunk.
what you're doing, and that's fine. You're a tabloid journalist. I expected that. I don't think it's an ambush because I knew it would be like this, and people will see what you're doing, and I think they'll say it's low. But as far as you want to talk about racism, let's talk about racism.
Okay,
let's leave my dad out of it.
Look, you've admitted you're a racist, correct?
Yes,
Yes,
you did.
100%.
Okay.
Own it.
Okay, that's fine. You're perfectly entitled in a free democratic society to stare down the barrel of his camera and tell me you're a racist. People can judge you accordingly. Many people who have assumed that you're racist will now have heard it from your own lips. That's fine.
There you go.
That's the truth. The point of this interview
channel.
is to go over the things you've said, which have led people to reach conclusions about you, and to ascertain whether those conclusions are fair and reasonable or not. That's it. So I want to play you another clip. This is what you talk about why white people are justified in being racist. Let's take a listen to this.
First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist. Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
No. What the? He's going to use the argument because black people commit more crime? Oh my God, dude. Piers, come on. This is an old talking point, dude. You have to be equipped for this. Come on.
You stand by
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So white people should go out of their way to avoid black people when they see them.
White people.
Absolutely. They would be wise.
Why?
Why would he walk into it?
I'm getting so tired of doing optics evaluations or rhetoric evaluations because I'd rather just debate on the facts. And you guys have gotten so obsessed with it; it's boring to talk about. But Nick set himself up with a defensible out at the beginning of this interview by saying, when I'm on stream, when I'm making jokes, like I'm being hyperbolic, I'm not, we're telling jokes here. It's not like 100% serious stuff. Like obviously it's small stream, small amount of people. These are not the messages that I would say to the entire world. So he set himself up with a good out here, but now he's is biting the bullet on every single thing he said on his stream. What? Like the response when Piers says this is like, well, no, I I'm being hyperbolic, but like what I'm trying to explain to you is like, imagine the fear of an average white person when there are people getting set on fire on buses. Was that a black guy that did that? I don't remember. Or if you're that poor white Ukrainian woman that got stabbed to death by a black guy, you know, if she would have avoided black men on the bus, if she would have gotten off as soon as that crazy black dude entered, she might still be alive today. Like these are like your more kind of like, I think like publicly rhetorically favorable outs that I feel like he set himself up for these outs at the beginning of this interview, but then he's in like full combat mode now. I don't know why he switched. I also think that he's conducting himself like this is a platform of equals instead of he is getting access to Piers' platform.
True.
And so he needs to market it like that. Like when I go.
But this might work out in Nick Fuentes' favor. Remember, this is a guy who existed outside of the normal media sphere for years. While Destiny was rubbing shoulders with Jordan Peterson and Ben Shapiro and going on and doing all these podcasts and being on, you know, Piers and TV shows, our boy over here, this dipshit, was just out being racist, dude. Right alongside Kanye West. Kanye West is still a very successful man right now. Like, these guys, they don't care. So why would they hide? And this is only going to win him favor with the people that are just like getting sucked into like Israel bad bullshit. And the benefit is it kind of appeals to those that hate Israel so much they're willing to, you know, partner up with this dipshit. The fact that him and Hassan have very similar beliefs is terrifying, but they're on different sides of the fucking political spectrum. But they're so damn close they could touch tips.
On Piers' platform, I view it as though I'm on Piers' platform. I'm trying to angle out kind of a little bit to his audience. I'm fighting different battles here. But I think that's what Nick needs to do, because I don't think Nick is big enough to be like, well, I can't believe you do that. You're being mean to me, which is kind of what he's done for part. I can't believe you'd attack my dad. It's like, well, you brought him up first, bro. I mean, I don't think that you can just pull out the victim argument when you're coming onto his platform. I think you have to defend it a little better if you want.
No.
How should Piers argue his side, or just eat the bullet or something else? I mean, he's doing like the British journalist thing. I think it's an okay way, I guess, to confront like politicians or people that try not to be radical or extremist ever. But like Nick is a pretty radical and extreme guy, and I think he'll own a lot of that. Like generally, if you're like, when he asked Nick if he wants to be political, I believe him when he says Nick doesn't necessarily want to run for office. I don't know if he would, because when you start working on the media side of things, I mean, one, there's way more money here. In some ways, there's more influence depending on how big the office is, right? You'd rather be a national or international media figure than somebody holding a local elected office, or even as a state assembly person, you'd probably rather be the big media person. So, like, I believe when he says he's not trying to go for a political office there. Now, if you're talking about like a state senator, or like a federal level, like a U.S. senator, or a governor, or like the president, obviously, you know, that might be a different thing. Although jumping immediately to that level would be a lot more difficult. But the fact that Nick is like more extremist makes these types of like gotcha interviews. They're good, I guess, for people that have never heard Fuentes' positions before. Like, I'm sure, because the stuff that gets clipped of Nick is probably him being funny and goofy and making jokes, and there are people who are a little bit in denial or haven't heard how extreme his positions are. It's probably good to illustrate that to people. So this is like a good like expose interview. It's just not very good at combating the actual like substantive positions that Nick holds. Or maybe it'll get better. I mean, it's already better than I thought it would be, because the beginning was kind of whatever. But so I don't know.
Have to avoid all black people in case they shoot me. And you've already conceded that you are a racist. So when people hear you then say, I don't want to be living anywhere near black people, they already have heard you say, I'm a racist, so they assume you're doing that because of people's skin color. I don't think you would probably dispute that, right?
Well, you're separating two different things. The monologue when I said I don't want to live around black people, that was after Irina Zarutska got shot. And it's true. I mean, they are a largely in this city, in Chicago, the south side, the west side, huge criminal population, and I don't want to live anywhere near it. And I do. I want to live in a white neighborhood. I think that that's extremely desirable, and I think even black people.
Again, Nick, you're perfectly entitled to that view. But when you have obviously prefaced all this by saying, I am a racist, unashamedly, then people will assume that all your thought processes about all of these issues are driven by an aversion to people based on their skin color, which is the purest personification of racism.
Well, it's not an aversion. I would say it's the opposite. I like my own people. My own people are familiar to me.
Ooh, this is going to be a really hard talking point after what he's done. This is
shit,
actually, you're the real racist. Like, I think all people are beautiful, and they should all live in their own homes. We should all have our own cultures in different places instead of mixing them all as one giant one in the United States.
He's about to try to do a separationist argument, bro.
So, I don't know.
Have to avoid all black people in case they shoot me. And you've already conceded that you are a racist. So when people hear you then say, I don't want to be living anywhere near black people, they already have heard you say, I'm a racist, so they assume you're doing that because of people's skin color. I don't think you would probably dispute that, right?
Well, you're separating two different things. The monologue when I said I don't want to live around black people, that was after Irina Zarutska got shot, and it's true. I mean, they are a largely in this city in Chicago, the South Side, the West Side, huge criminal population, and I don't want to live anywhere near it. And I do. I want to live in a white neighborhood. I think that that's extremely desirable, and I think even black people.
Again, Nick, you're perfectly entitled to that view. But when you have obviously prefaced all this by saying, I am a racist, unashamedly, then people will assume that all your thought processes about all of these issues are driven by an aversion to people based on their skin color, which is the purest personification of racism.
Well, it's not an aversion. I would say it's the opposite.
Like, Piers has to know that, like, Nick has some media savvy shit. Like, he's going to try to explain the furthest right thing he can explain in a way that he can explain it to be as palatable as possible. Like, he's an actual racist, dude. He has these arguments already loaded up. He's thought about these in his room, you know, jerking off to like black people dying and shit, man. This guy actually is just a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Like, this guy's probably rehearsed this conversation or this question 1,000 times. You got to come at him with better fire, man. This is poop.
I like my own people. My own people are familiar to me.
Ooh, this is going to be a really hard talking point after what he's done. This is the, actually, you're the real racist. Like, I think all people are beautiful, and they should all live in their own homes. We should all have our own cultures in different places instead of mixing them all as one giant one in the United States. Send them home to be with their own cultures.
And I think that's true across the board. I think that people seek out other people that are like themselves, and every other group does this, whether it's blacks, Hispanics, Asians. You know, I get a lot of attacks when I talk about that I'm against interracial marriage. And what's funny is that every other group is against interracial or interethnic marriage. Jews, Chinese,
you're the product of an
Hispanics.
interracial marriage.
Yeah, I mean, that's debatable.
Not really.
For the sake of
Not
argument,
really.
sure.
No, you're the product of an interracial marriage, and your father is part Mexican. You're literally,
For the sake of argument,
the
we can
very
say
person
sure.
you've just told me you want to avoid.
What race is Hispanic? Is that a race?
Well, what do you think it is?
I'm asking you, what race is Hispanic?
Hispanic. Of course it's a race. It's called Hispanic.
It's a mix between two races. It's a mix between indigenous
It's
Americans
not
and
white, though,
Europeans.
is it? It's not white.
Well, apparently you're more of a racial purist than me. You got like
Not
a
really. You just keep saying you only want to live in a white neighborhood, but you're literally from a mixed race background yourself. You've literally got Mexican blood.
I know, and I live in a non-white neighborhood too. I'm trying to get out of here, though. But I'm trying to get out. But here's the thing:
Do you have any non-white? Do you have any non-white friends? Genuine question.
Most of my friends are non-white. Most of my friends are not, and non-white people love my show.
How many are black? How many of your friends are black?
Many of them, like at least a dozen.
Wow.
Ye being one who you know, Sneeko being another who you also know.
Yeah. So how do they feel when you say you just want to be away from any black people, walk away from them?
Well, you know what Ye told me? I'll tell you verbatim what he said.
Probably
that it doesn't come from a
agrees.
place of, when you use the word aversion, that's the first thing I'll actually dispute.
Okay.
It's not an aversion.
Bro, Sneeko, hopefully he ruined his career. Did you guys see what Sneeko did? Sneeko slapped this poor girl off stream. Well, he thought it was off stream, but it was on stream. He put the fucking fear of God in that woman. Bro, hopefully that ended his career, bro. I haven't seen him pop up in a minute since then, but that was like a week ago.
On the basis of skin color, because that would seem to suggest it's like a stubborn, irrational bigotry. I don't consider myself a bigot. I
Because she was being mean to him.
consider myself a racial realist. I'm realistic about how the races are, and I speak provocatively about it. And I speak provocatively about our tribalistic instincts and tendencies as human beings. And I'm not a liberal ideologue that says that over time and with enough education.
So his black friends are Sneeko, a guy who pretends to be a Muslim and hits women because he's a millionaire and he can do whatever he wants. And even though he preaches stoicism, Stoic shouldn't hit. Oh, a Stoic would never hit a woman. What the fuck? That's a childish outburst by a fucking man-child. And then Kanye West, the open anti-Semite black guy that has been laughed out of Hollywood. You need better black friends, homie. Maybe this is why you don't like black people, bro. There are thousands, millions of amazing black people in America you could talk to today. They got nice drip, good smile, good smoke. Oh, man, bro. They got good food. They got good fucking clothes. Come on, man.
Education, we're all going to see this great brotherhood where we're colorblind and everybody's the same. I don't think that's ever going away. I think that race is real. It's not just skin deep. It matters to us and it matters to each other. And black people know that, and Hispanics know that, and Asians know that, and people like me that have partial Mexican ancestry, we know that too. And I think on that basis, we can have mutual respect and understanding, not aversion based on skin color.
The reason I use the word aversion is you literally...
I feel like race realist movements today are in and of themselves like the biggest arguments against that ideology, though. Like the idea that he considers Italian and Irish white the same way that British people were considered white is, I think, a really big argument against the idea that we can't kind of merge racial groups. I feel like
you just say good toes. No, I don't know what I said, bro. Grossness aside, I got an infection in my arm, bro, and it's the size of a goddamn baseball, bro. Breathing hurts. Okay.
I feel like we always fight at like the highest level, or the most abstracted level. So like in this country today, there's like in the United States, like if you're European, you guys have all your different ethnic groups. And you guys, we have like white people, brown people, black people, and we don't call them, well, it's yellow and red. We really just do colors, I guess, for Asians and Native Americans, I guess. And then we don't really draw finer lines than that. Inside racial communities, they might.
True.
But especially for white people, for the majority class people, that's all kind of we see. And then if you have like one drop of anything else, you just kind of like belong to that group. So like for a mixed race person in the black community, they might see them as a mixed race person. For a white person, it's just a black person, right? Or like a HAPA, whatever,
True.
the half whatever, the Asian island Pacific or whatever people like that. Those are Asian people, or those are Mexican people or Hispanic people, whatever. That's all we see. But if we were to eliminate some of these groups, let's say we got rid of everybody except for just white people, and maybe we get black people around because of slavery or whatever, I think the white people would start looking at each other and be like, okay, what kind of white person are you? Like the Civil War movement. And then once you've gotten rid of all the undesirable white people, then whoever's left would be looking at, like, oh, well, what kind of Irishman are you? What kind of, are you tall enough? Like, there's always some bullshit to fight over. It just feels retarded to me, but whatever.
Said that you should walk the other way if you see black people. That is an aversion to black people based on their skin color.
No, that's called economy of information. That's economy of information. That's safety. And I said in the same monologue, if you watch it, it's like, I feel sorry. The problem is you clip the 10 seconds. I don't know if you watched the whole show, but in that monologue, I said, most black people are not violent or criminals. I said, and it's unfortunate that we're going to offend them when we turn and walk the other way. I said, but the problem is we don't know. We can't tell. And someone like Irina Zarutska, she sat down in front of a black man with her headphones in and wasn't paying attention because she was being a good liberal and said, I'm not uncomfortable by this. I'm progressive. Then she got stabbed in the neck. And I said, it's unfortunate that you would have to sit behind the black man to be safe. And if he's not violent or schizophrenic, he might be offended by that. I said, but I would rather offend him than die.
I don't like to give arguments to this side, but one thing that's always interesting to watch people on the left squirm around is asking, oh, okay, so you don't think it's fair to racially stereotype people when you get on the bus? What do you say to women that have been battered or abused by men who feel unsafe around men? Shouldn't we also be criticizing them for their decisions also? Which is a harder one if you're on the left, depending on how you view it all to navigate, especially depending on how woke you act.
Ranged white men have committed atrocious acts of murder in the last 10 years in America.
Proportionally far fewer.
How many? Do you know how many?
You have a research team. You pull it up.
You're very big. You're obviously extremely exercised by that one story, which was horrific for the record.
True.
Absolutely horrific, and should never have happened. The person who perpetrated that evil act had a string of previous offences and should have been picked up more, and it should have been amplified more. I completely concur with all of that.
That's a meaningless argument. The guy that murdered that woman. Well, there should have been something. We have to have some place to put crazy people in the U.S., and we don't have a place for crazy people right now. But the guy was in prison for 5 years. Like what else do you want him to do? Do you need to look ahead and just automatically know who's going to get more and more?
Have you been to the doc? No, dude. Nah. I don't get medical stuff yet. You know what I mean? But this is like my fourth one in like 3 months. Cuff for decades. Exactly, dude. Oh my fucking Jesus.
Outrageous and commit more crimes. Well, for him, you might have been able to, but only on the mental health side of things. But we just don't have the infrastructure for that.
But I just suspect you have no idea.
Are they cis? Nah, dude. Nah.
How many white people have committed similar crimes, do you?
No, because I know it's far fewer from experience.
Okay.
Because it's like you said. Well, and hang on, and I would add to that, Irina Zarutska wasn't the first one. That was also after Austin Metcalf.
What is the counter to that point about women scared of men? The point is you bite the bullet on it and you concede it, but you have to push in both directions. You have to say it's understandable why women would be scared of men, but it's not fair to stereotype all men as murderers or whatever, right? That's a thing that hopefully you go to therapy or something to try to get over. Like if a woman has an aversion to all men because of some past traumatic event, that's a thing that you try to overcome in therapy. And you definitely wouldn't generalize that to an entire group of people and say all women should have this bad reaction to men, even ones who've never been abused by men, because you understand that by calling it a trauma response, you're necessarily saying it's not like an intellectually justified feeling, it's an emotionally justified one. But so the uncomfortable thing is on the right, you're forcing two different sides, I think, to bite the bullet. On the right, you have to get them to admit that it's okay for some women to feel that way about some men. That's fine. But then on the left, you have to be willing to say, I can understand why some people feel that way. If you've had bad experiences with a certain race of taxi drivers, a certain race of criminals, a certain race of, whatever, yeah, you might have bad feelings about it too. But the important thing is to recognize that like your individual experience shouldn't be generalized onto an entire population, especially if you're making decisions about those people. Like if you're a boss or something like that, or you engage in some kind of trade or housing or whatever. And it's the thing that you fight against. But like you have to be cognizant of what's going on. You can't just pretend that it doesn't exist and that everybody should get rid of all bad feelings as long as they align with our particular agenda. Like people are going to have feelings about different people, whether they've been personally victimized by them or whether they've seen it a lot in the media, so they're led to believe that. And yeah, it's something you need to be aware of and you have to fight against it.
Like you said. Well, and hang on, and I would add to that. Irina Zarutska wasn't the first one. That was also after Austin Metcalf was killed in Texas.
Sure.
After
Carmelo. How many times has it been perpetrated by white people?
Well, hang on, let me finish my point.
But you're implying that white people don't do this. And my point to you, Nick Fuentes, is of course,
I never said white people don't do it.
deranged white people commit heinous acts. But you don't either know, you neither know nor care, or maybe both. Maybe you do know but don't care. You only seem to be focused on black people who commit crimes. And again, if you hadn't prefaced the whole debate about racism by openly conceding you are a racist, I could read other connotations into what you've been saying. But once you've
like he kind of Nick here. I don't know. Again, I'll repeat it. He gave himself the perfect out in the beginning. And then he just totally started biting all the bullets on everything, right? Like, hey, you say a lot of crazy stuff on stream. Yeah, I say crazy stuff on stream sometimes, but I don't really mean it. What about when you said you wanted to kill little boys? I do want to kill all little boys. Like, bro, why did you even bother saying the first thing?
Said, I'm a racist, and then you only talk about black crime. I think people can watch this and they can say, yeah, he's a racist. And everything that he says about crime is driven through the prism of being a racist who judges people according to their skin color.
I wonder how popular this was for Nick. I feel like him owning all of the more salacious arguments is only going to end him more social capital. I don't see that as a detriment to him because no one does that in politics. Very few people own their position. I mean, what made Donald Trump so popular was he gave off the opinion that he was going to be owning the shit. You know what I mean? Like there was one time in his debate with Hillary Clinton, I mean, Dave Chappelle made a joke about this on his Saturday Night Live thing. When she was like, who was it? Fuck, dude. During, I think, the second or third debate, she was like, Hillary Clinton hit Donald Trump with, you use tax loopholes. And then Donald Trump responded with, of course I do. The same loopholes you created for your billionaire friends. And even though we all knew Donald Trump was doing that, the fact that a politician for one time was honest, it made Hillary Clinton look bad. You can't attack the rich when the rich are the ones that gave you the power to begin with, because Donald Trump can just push it all back on you. If I'm so bad, why did you take my money for the last fucking 20 years? And then, like, all of her arguments kind of fall flat. Like, you liked me until we were opponents. Why? These people that own this shit are going to gain a lot of capital for it. Because so many people are starting to just be okay with racism. The problem is they're misplacing that anger. Your life isn't shit because, there's an abundance of Middle Eastern people that have moved into town, or people from Haiti because they're not eating the cats and dogs. You fucking dipshits. You're upset because we have a stagnated economy. Housing prices will continue to skyrocket because by building more homes, the housing prices will fall. And those that have almost all of their equity is done through their home. By building more homes, it would harm and damage the majority of the people that own them. It's an unfixable problem, but we just need to build more fucking homes. We need to create more jobs and have a higher level of service aptitude. But like, we just can't do any of these things because we talk around issues instead of talking about issues. Like, our service industry is one of the primary things that prop up our economy outside of like our AI, our military, and our medical industry. Our service industry is a massive thing and it requires a lot of moving hands. But we also underpay dramatically those that work in service. It's a shitty situation. But these people, like Nick Fuentes and Trump, they don't have a cure for this. They're just going to sit there and attack the system and say that all the people that built the system have failed you. And because you're easier to control when you're upset and you can look at plain issues in your life that maybe you think that other people didn't have, is crazy. A majority of people are far better off today than our parents were 20 years ago. You have a way better life today than they did. It's that simple. But we don't look at our improvements. We look about how shitty our life is, and we look at someone that we can point the finger at and say it's their problem, not mine.
Color.
Well, it's funny because it's quite on the contrary. And I said this.
If all the men around the women are like that, then shouldn't she be afraid of men? That's more Nick's argument. Well, but all the black people aren't like that. All the black people aren't like that. In fact, I think a big killer question you could arguably ask, now Nick could always invent stuff, but you could ask Nick, like, do you cross the street whenever you come across a white person? Like, aren't you more afraid of white people than anything else? And Nick would say, well, of course not, black crime stats and blah, blah, blah. But then you say, well, who was the person who showed up at your house to kill you? Right? Wasn't that was a white person, right?
A racist who judges people according to their skin color.
Well, it's funny because it's quite on the contrary. And I said this in a similar monologue. You know, the problem is not that I wake up and I walk down the street and I see someone that doesn't look like me and it makes me angry. The problem is there's a pattern of behavior, which we've all seen. Blacks in America have become narcissistic.
Seems like the question about his family triggered him. No, I don't think it actually triggered him. I think he just tried to moral high ground it. But like, that's a tough one to fight on because he brings it up, you know? Like, he brings it up. So if he's going to bring it up, then I think it's fair game. So, but some people have, I don't know if my position on this is just incomprehensible. I feel like people are just retarded. When I'm fighting online and people bring up my son, I typically don't bring my son out in public to show off or to talk about or whatever. So I feel like it's weird when people attack me on like what Nathan thinks or whatever. He's 14, he's doing his own life, figuring his, says retarded shit right now. Hopefully in a year or two he's less retarded, but he's a 14-year-old, right?
True.
So I get irritated when like Hassan is like obsessively talking about, you know, my minor non-consenting son. That being said, if Hassan wanted to on Nathan directly for his political opinions, I think that's fair game. Now, arguably, I would say, well, why are you attacking a 14-year-old? Maybe that's kind of weird or whatever. But like, if Nathan puts the opinion out there and Hassan or somebody wants to attack him directly on it, oh, fine. I mean, he's putting it out there. That's kind of on him. It gets a little bit weirder because he's kind of young. But there's just a different feeling there in attacking family members that you're not bringing out. So like, for for dating Melina, if people, I don't think I ever got mad at, or I would fight people if they would call me they want to fight about like Melina and my relationship, but I'm not going to say like, you can't talk about Melina and my relationship. I would just fight them on the points themselves because like my relationship with Melina is like a big part of my stream. Like she's in the background all the time. We travel together. We take pictures together. Like if you want to attack me on it, that's fair game and we'll fight on it. Sure. Because it's like out there. Now, if I was trying to have like a very offline relationship with Melina or very private or not public and people bring it all the time, I'm like, well, why the fuck are you bringing this up? I'm not like bringing this out a lot. That's kind of weird. Or I don't think it's fair game, I guess. But
The problem is there's a pattern of behavior, which we've all seen. Blacks in America have become narcissistic, and they become narcissistic because they've been told they're victims of racism, they're victims of slavery. They've been told, really, there's no accountability. If they're rude, if they're inconsiderate, if they're criminal, they are told that they have no agency for their actions. They're being told, if you act in this way, it's because the white man made you that way. It's because the system's rigged against you. And so we've been telling black people this for a generation.
do you think it's better if you just bite the bullet on the whole black people stats thing and debate on what should be done about it instead? Yeah, but that's what I said. You should do, I can solve black crime in the United States. I don't know if I talk about this on stream or off stream with all my racist friends. You can solve black crime in the United States, okay? You take the most racist people you can find and you put them in charge of like schedules and patrol routes and everything else. And then you take the wokest people you can find as cops and you make them the police officers. And then there you go. The racist people can know what areas need to be policed and they're not going to be delusional about it. But then the actual cops themselves aren't racist and they go out and they enforce crime where they see fit. And then there you go. You create that separation, problem solved, all right?
If you act in this way, it's because the white man made you that way. It's because the system's rigged against you.
Wait. Oh my God, that actually works. Oh my God, dude, can we use our racist people? Just for data analysis? Like, bro. We just got to make sure that we don't have any racist cops. How the fuck do you do that?
Destiny, I watched his stream after he was...
Also, it would not work because that racism would leak down from the top into the officers. Like, no. Because then they would become racist dealing in those environments constantly. Because the cops that have to deal with it are going to get negative fucking feelings towards it.
I watched his stream after he was genuinely upset that he brought up his dad. Oh, well that's, I mean, like if you're going to tell stories about it, I feel like, I don't know. I feel like it's a dumb thing to be upset about. Unless maybe he brought, did he show a clip of it? Maybe he brought that dad story up like 10 years ago and now he's regretful of it and he doesn't like that maybe, but no.
Agency for their actions. They're being told, if you act in this way, it's because the white man made you that way. It's because the system's rigged against you. And so we've been telling black people this for a generation, and now there's no rules. Now they go, and what we hate to see as decent people, not even as white people, but decent people, even black people too, what we hate to see.
I just don't get why he'd be offended by that when in the second sentence he's justifying it. You know what? Actually, delete everything I just said about that. Delete everything I just said about that. I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. Sometimes when I say that, I'm being sarcastic. I'm about to sarcastically say you're right because I'm just don't want to talk about it. But unironically, sorry, I have no, whatever part exists in the brain for like last name and family and all that, I don't have that at all in my brain. So let me intellectualize this. I'm sorry, because I have to come back here because I was just responding off for what I feel. I guess for an ordinary person, you actually might feel emotionally attacked if somebody were to attack the reputation or whatever of your dad. That actually could have been a genuine response that Fuentes felt, actually. That could have been, sure. Actually, that's totally possible. It's probably pretty normal, actually. I just didn't even, my brain doesn't even go there. If my mom or dad said some dumb shit, that's on them, fuck it. But for most people, I understand that could be an irritating thing, yeah.
Okay, back with Nick Fuentes. Let's just turn to anti-Semitism. In your interview with Stephen Crowder last week, you answered emphatically that you don't hate all Jews. Is that correct? That's your position?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to play you this clip.
Well, I don't hate any Jews. Let me just amend that. I don't hate any Jews.
Okay. Let's play this clip.
The reason I've had it is because my opposition to world Jewry and Israel is rooted in absolute
Oh God! Did Hassan watch this? I think he did. Somebody sent me Hassan's audience, but I only watched like
a minute of this in the beginning. Here goes, strap in, boys.
Bro, Hassan's audience cannot watch this point. Oh no.
Testable fact. We have the truth on our side. That's why we're winning. Because we are telling the truth about the historical antagonism between Jews and Europeans, between Jews and Christians. The theological, historical, racial, cultural, and political antagonisms between organized Jewry and the Christians, organized Jewry and Europeans. And the reason that we are winning that argument is because it's real, it's true. I can prove it, I can show you, I can name the names. I can show you the paper trail, the money. That is why we're winning. That is why all of this is raising the consciousness.
When you say you have this opposition to world Jewry, I mean, it's one thing to criticize, for example, the Israeli government over what it's been doing in Gaza. I've done that myself. When you talk about world Jewry, I presume you're talking about the 15 million Jews in the world, and you are opposed to them. How does that square with your position that you don't hate any Jews?
Well, do you take issue with my use of the term?
He doesn't consider them people.
Term world Jewry?
Well, what do you mean by that?
Jewry, I think, doesn't that refer to like the actual organized body of Jews that are trying to run around doing stuff? I don't think that just refers to like the Jewish people, no?
Take issue with it? Do you have a problem with that?
Clarify what you mean by it.
Well, it's funny you bring that up. The gaslighting's crazy because I use that expression on my show all the time. I say organized Jewry, world Jewry. And do you know that for like 30 years, the World Jewish Congress has an annual keynote called the State of World Jewry? Barry Weiss has given it. You can look it up. It's on YouTube. She gives the State of World Jewry address.
What do you mean by it?
I mean, you have to talk about, there's a concept of Jewish peoplehood. It's the sense that they are part of a common nationality, a common tribe, a common people. And so where they reside in Israel, the United States or Europe or elsewhere, they see each other above or maybe on a different level alongside their nationality, their state, wherever they reside. If they're in Germany, France, the United States, they see themselves as part of a transnational nation, of an international nation. The Jews in America, the Jews in Israel, they identify as Israeli or American, but they also have something in common. They identify as part of a common nation, which I would say there's a world Jewish population. It's world Jewry. And world Jewry has representatives. There is such a thing as the World Jewish Congress, where they actually elect, it's democratic, all the local Jewish organizations elect representatives to represent proportionally the Jewish population in their area at the World Jewish Congress. And it's sort of like Davos. It's like the World Economic Forum, but it's exclusively for members of the Jewish nation that exists across the world. And so that's a real thing. And I didn't make that up, and that didn't come from 4chan. It's like I said in that clip. I read what they write. I read their books. I watch these speeches. I watch a speech from Barry Weiss. I pay very close attention. So that's what I mean by that. There is such a thing as it's a nation that exists across borders on a global scale. They're organized, and they have a...
When Jews say it, it means the Jews of the world. When Nazis say it, they mean the same, but as a movement with a united desires and power and so on. Sure.
I don't know why Piers just keeps walking into these, man. Like, you're supposed to be like a damn good reporter. Like, you have to know what his arguments are. Have you watched any of his content? Man. Come on, man. Hit us with the kill shot, dude.
Yeah.
National self-interest as that nation, as that tribe.
So if you don't hate any Jews, what do you like about them?
I like a lot of things about them. I think they're funny. I think they're smart. I think that they're pretty remarkable people. And as Christians, especially as Catholics, we say they're remarkable. And this has been adjudicated in Catholic doctrine for thousands of years. We say that they're a witness people. And so we actually, there's provisions inside of Catholic doctrine that says we need to give them special protections because they were a witness to Christ's passion. So, this is why you can't clip the show. You have to watch the whole thing. I say this repeatedly in interviews. I do think they're remarkable. By definition, they're exceptional people. It's just that there is a sort of natural opposition between them and Christians because of the theology. We believe that Christ is a Messiah. They don't. They have been a minority in Christian lands for thousands of years, and they have been pushed around and expelled, and they've been persecuted and segregated, and that's why there's a lot of paranoia. There's a lot of distrust. There's maybe some sense of chauvinism among Jewish people. So there is, like I said in that clip, there is an historical antagonism between these two peoples, between Christendom and Jewry, and that has always been the case in Europe. But I don't hate them, and I think I actually sort of understand them in a weird way. I think that because I've studied a lot of their politics, I think I really kind of know them in a way, and it doesn't come from a place of hatred.
Do you have any Jewish friends?
Oh my God.
I do. I have many, yes.
Well, that's weird because you said this.
Uh-oh.
Jews and Christians have never been friends, ever. Not since Jesus Christ fought with the Pharisees. Have we ever been friends? Not since Saul was leading the charge persecuting the Christians. Not since the Roman Empire, not since the Middle Ages. Never. We've never been friends. We've never been allies. We've always been set against each other, actually. And even here in the United States, it was communist Jews who were the architects of both communism and the civil rights laws that are dispossessing white Christians of their land and civilization.
Oh my God. Who the fuck attacks civil rights, dude? Jesus Christ, dude. I hear so many constitutionalists and classic neocons make that stupid fucking argument. Bro, just say you hate black people, man. Let's move on. At least this cocksucker fucking admits it, man. Hopefully it doesn't catch fire. Like, the civil rights movement ensures that we take care. Now, of course, you already know that, like, the conservative black community would be like, yeah, but we had stable house homes and we were better off as slaves because, we still got to have God and we didn't, make women get rid of their men. And oh my God. There's no, Jesus Christ. Death is the only thing that can free my suffering from this. Jesus Christ. Nikki, you good, girl?
The Jews and Christians have never been friends ever, except for you and your Jewish friends.
Yeah, so easy. As peoples, as nations. Not saying every individual Christian. And of course, there have been Christians and there have been Christian converts to Judaism, Jewish converts, Christian. You're nodding your head, but you're asking this. I'm saying as peoples.
No, I hear you. I'm a Catholic like you, and I have many Jewish friends. I'm just trying to compute what you're trying to say, which is Jews and Christians have never been friends ever. And I'm like, well, you have Jewish friends. I have Jewish friends. We're both.
Oh my God, dude. He's okay.
Catholics, therefore we're Christians. So it doesn't really quite add up.
Well, like I said, as peoples, there has been an historical antagonism as peoples. And you could even say the same about blacks in the United States. Of course, there were black and white people that were friendly with each other, but in many ways, they were set against each other as groups. And I think that's easy enough to understand. The
reason that many people think you're anti-Semitic is that you have regularly downplayed the Holocaust, and in particular, the number of Jewish people who were murdered by the Nazis. It's been said that you believe no more than several 100,000 have been killed. And I want to play you this clip.
People talk about, well, what about the gas chambers? Well, To the extent that that's real, I find that hard to believe, but to the extent that's real, there have been atrocities committed and genocides committed in all times and all places. Let's acknowledge why casts the long shadow, because that confers a political benefit upon Jews. That's why. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there.
You think that's funny?
No, it's funny.
Sorry.
It's amusing what you're doing because, you know, that one was a joke. But do you want to talk seriously about the Holocaust?
Yeah, I do actually.
Piers, dude, just get into the weeds, man. They kept journals. They kept recordings. Like they felt like they were justified in killing the Jews and the Gypsies. They were trying to take over the world, bro. Why don't you just... You are a fucking news organization with an entire staff of writers and researchers. You couldn't just pull up like the journal. Like you couldn't walk over to AI and type all that in. Like you didn't have one intern. You're just gonna be like, well, you said this. That's nasty. Come on, man. Put your elbows up. You can't just go, that's bad. You got to explain to the dipshits of the world why it's bad. They don't believe in it anymore, man. He's not equipped to have this conversation.
Actually, I do, because I just find it extraordinary that you would think the Holocaust could ever be something that we could joke about.
Why, too soon?
I mean, that was a good joke right there, actually. God damn, what the fuck? Why would you make that, Piers? You're a free speech guy. Of course we could joke about the Holocaust. What the fuck? We could joke about everything. Nothing is off the... It's called a joke. I feel like Piers is doing bad on purpose to give this guy a platform. What the fuck?
That one was a joke, but do you want to talk seriously about the Holocaust?
Yeah, I do actually. I do, because I just find it extraordinary that you would think the Holocaust could ever be something that we could joke about.
Why, too soon? Is it too soon to make jokes?
How many people do you think died in the Holocaust? How many Jewish people?
I don't know. I'm thinking maybe 7 million. What's the number? 6 million, something like that?
So
the too soon joke. The too soon was funny. When he says... You shouldn't make a joke about the Holocaust because it's too soon. It was been like 80 years ago. That's a funny joke. That was quick. That showed wit. That showed what makes him gain audience members. The problem is you can't morally just point your finger down at people. You have to like battle them on the ideas, because now he just said the 7 million thing. He doesn't believe that many people died, but he doesn't care. He's just going to say whatever the number is that he thinks climbs every year. He doesn't care. He's coming here to meme, dude. And that's exactly what he's doing.
You can see that 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust.
He almost got the 6.
Possibly more. Possibly, you know, we're discovering all the time. So it could maybe even be more than that.
So why have you doubted the numbers in the past?
I'll tell you why.
How do you respond to the math doesn't add up? I mean, it does. There's just like a lot nobody knows anything about. Like most Jews weren't even killed in gas chambers, right? Like a lot of these people were killed in mobile vans. I think most were even just shot to death, like taken to places and shot and mass graved and buried or whatever. If you try to do the math of like 2 gas chambers, gas chambering, 6 million Jews in 4 years, there's a lot of other.
I really think that every death is a tragedy, however many Jewish people died in the Holocaust. And I'm not a World War II historian, so I'm actually open to believing the official narrative, and I've read some of the conspiracy theories. And to tell you the truth, it's a rigorous debate. But what's interesting about this is in many countries, it's not even legal to talk about it. And that's really where my interest in the Holocaust begins and sort of ends, to tell you the truth, is that if you...
Oh no, dude, Destiny's hitting us with the chair. Come on, man. You can't be doing that Hassan shit, bro. You've barely been responding, big dog.
If you wanted to question the number, you would be put in jail in about, 17 or 18 European countries. And I think that's really the more interesting conversation, which is that this is almost like a religious dogma in the West. No other genocide, no other atrocity is treated like this. Could you imagine if in the United States they said the number of Palestinians killed in Gaza is 100,000, and if you don't say that, you're going to jail, you're banned on X, you can't have a job? That's the part that's totally insane. And a lot of people, they can't even make up their minds. I think it's actually done a disservice. If your goal, and I'm not saying you as Piers Morgan, but if your goal, if you're an advocate for awareness about this, if your goal is to convince everybody that this is the way the Holocaust happened, I think the last thing you'd want to do is say that everyone that disagrees is in jail and is banned and you're not allowed to say it. So there's really been no open debate about the subject since the scholarship started to be produced about 60 years ago.
There is no debate to be had about the number of people who were murdered. Even the Nazis
no debate to be
in
had.
the trials
You
after
can debate
the war
everything.
confirmed the numbers. The amount of documentation that was recovered, notwithstanding the...
There we go. Okay, cool. Piers is getting there. Let's cook, homie. Let's get in there. Let's see that British journalist, you know, fucking sleeves roll up, dude. Get them fist in that asshole. Let's see what you got, Piers. Hit me with it, daddy.
Attempts by the Nazis to destroy it. The amount of documentation that was saved and preserved and used for trials and for historical record is unprecedented in the history of mass slaughter of human beings. So we have a very clear idea of how many people were gassed to death in the gas chambers. We have a very clear idea of how many were starved to death, were kept in ghettos, died of disease, of forced labor, of death marches. We know how many Jews were slaughtered. It's at least 6 million. What's interesting to me is that you appear to now concede that, which may be news to a lot of your regular viewers who have constantly heard you quibble with the number of Jews who died in the Holocaust. And for the record, just to confirm what I think you told me, you do now accept that at least 6 million Jews were killed in the Holocaust.
Well, no, I said it could even be higher than that.
Well, it could be higher. That is
I think
true.
it's at least.
But you accept at
It is
least.
at least. Oh, it's at least 6 million. But it could be 100 times
people
more
are
than
going to
that.
be okay. The people are going to be.
But let me respond to the rest of your question.
Sure.
What you're saying.
He's just joking. He said it could be 100 times more than that, Piers. This isn't a serious answer.
I understand where you're coming from when you say it has been documented and there are confessions and so on. Let that speak for itself. But you don't see, your show is called Piers Morgan Uncensored.
Yeah.
But the United Kingdom is censored and Europe is censored. And if you talk about these things, you will be put in jail in many countries. And I think that's where...
Rest in peace, man. Our boy Count Dankula, who I disagree with on almost everything now. I remember when he got arrested for something stupid with a pug. The left, man.
A lot of people start to say, well, if the truth is so clear and if there's such overwhelming evidence, why do you need to throw people in jail for disagreeing? And you yourself said, well, there is no debate. I think everything is debatable. I think everything at least should be debated. And if the evidence is very one-sided, let the evidence speak. Don't throw people in jail. So do you think that Holocaust denial laws should be over?
He just walks into every point, dude. These guys have been doing this pivot for years.
Returned?
I don't particularly agree with Holocaust denial laws. I don't think people should be imprisoned.
Okay.
Well, because I have a blanket view now, which has evolved slightly actually over the years, that I have a blanket view that speech should not be criminalized. Right? People should be allowed to say what they want to say, and they should be then made accountable for what they say. If you have an employer, they can make a view about whether you are the right kind of person they want for their employment, as they would make a decision about anything else you do in life.
True.
So I actually believe that speech should never be criminalized. It's my personal view. I understand why in places like Germany, they have...
How is there a link to Nick talking about this appearance on a stream afterwards? I'm just curious what his thoughts were. I just feel like he's being so combative. There's a lot of common ground that he could have drawn here, especially with this like free speech is under attack in Europe thing with Piers. But his obviously Piers is going to be very antagonistic. But Nick must have known this is going to be a highly antagonistic interview coming into this, right? That's what the British journalist guys do.
Have strong laws about it because they want to move on from what they believe was the most shameful moment in their history. I understand that. Do I want that in my country? No. Am I appalled by what has been going on with free speech in the United Kingdom in the last 2 or 3 years? Absolutely. It is ridiculous that people have been frog marched to prison cells for stuff they put on social media. Right? So yeah, I do. I think what is more interesting to me about our exchange is I was not expecting you to go the opposite way. I was not expecting you to be so emphatic that at least 6 million Jews died in the Holocaust. And there'll be people watching this who I think will be very surprised by that because you have built a reputation for being, if not a Holocaust denier, than somebody constantly questioning in a downward way the number of Jews who were murdered. That doesn't appear to be what your position is now.
No, and here's what I would like to see for my entire career. When I started my show, it started with a good faith inquiry where I was questioning a lot of these narratives and I said, what is the answer on the other side? But what I found is that the answer was criminalized. So when you would talk about anything regarding Jews, Israel, the Holocaust, you could be in favor of the official narrative on those things. If you went against, you were banned, censored, and in some countries jailed. And so I actually haven't made up my mind on that because that's not really a matter of interest to me. And there's a lot of analysis and scholarship on both.
You've been asking how many Jews really died for about 7-8 years now. Of course, you're obsessed with it. But you don't want to answer the question because then it gives you at least he's weaseling away from 1 point. He's not going to own it all. So, I mean, he's got some self, But that's also a different affair, bro. Because now they're going to say, you see that, dude? I got so much pushback for the Jews, but they barely gave me pushback for the blacks to try and turn blacks against Jews. Like, bro, come on.
Both sides of the issue. And I've read both sides of the issue. And honestly, unfortunately, it's hard to judge because there's never been a debate on it. And there's never been a debate because of the stigma, because of the censorship. And I think that leads a lot of people to say, well, what do they have to hide? Because you can say on your show, well, I'm personally against Holocaust denial laws, yet they still persist and the social consequences still persist. And I think that that is the anomaly. And people have to wonder, okay, why is it that way? And what I said in that clip is the reason the Holocaust casts a long shadow is because it confers a political benefit upon organized Jewry. That is what they always fall back on. They cannot be criticized. They cannot be named. They cannot be talked about, lest there be another Holocaust. And no other tragedy is treated that way. And no other ethnic group has a get out of jail free card. Just play that. Anti-Semitism and Holocaust. You can do whatever you want and defend all your actions. That's the part that people are getting upset with. That's the problem.
I don't know any right-minded person who believes that Jewish people weaponize the Holocaust for their own personal get out of jail free or whatever you call it.
You don't know anyone that does that? That believes
I'm
that?
sure there are some people that do that, but it's such a ridiculous generalization. You know, the truth...
Didn't Benjamin Netanyahu evoke the Holocaust when he was in the U.S. talking to Congress? I feel like that would be a strong example if he did. I don't remember if he did or didn't. He probably did. Probably a safe bet to say that he did.
is that most Jewish people have lost relatives in the Holocaust. In fact, I want to play you two clips. One is where you talk about Adolf.
Uh-oh.
Was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really cool.
You regret saying that?
What the fuck? You're okay with Hitler being a pedophile and killing all these people? Hold on, where's your moral? Are you okay with kid fucking, Nick? I need you to expand on that. We already know you're okay with Hitler. We already know you sucked that dick. But are you also for child diddling? Because if so, you should be back on Trump's cock, bro. This guy is he's just coming out, bro, in these cases, bro. Like, this motherfucker was just around underage poon left and right, dude. Donald Trump was fuckingly disgusting. We were all up in arms about P. Diddy. Bro, P. Diddy was at least hooking up with dudes. Like, Donald Trump is fucking children, dog. President of the United States, by the way. Jesus, fuck.
Saying a fact? No, that's absolutely true.
You think it was very cool?
Yes, I do.
And
I'm tired of pretending he's not.
Well,
to be honest.
This is the problem, you see. It's a bit like when you just say, I'm a racist. You're a racist who thinks Hitler's cool, but you're not anti-Semitic. If you're a Jewish person watching this, what are they thinking? I'll tell you what they're thinking, because I've got a friend of mine called Danny Finkelstein, who, when he heard I was interviewing you, he's a Times journalist in the UK, very eminent journalist here, and author, who wrote a book about his own family's experiences at the hands of and Stalin, because he also told Tucker Carlson...
He's doing the Sandy Hook dead children thing. Come on, man. You need to have a backbone, Piers. He's unfazed. He doesn't care. He wants you to do this. You're feeding his narrative. Thank you.
That you admire Stalin. But let's just take what Danny said here.
Hi, Piers. It's Danny Finkelstein here. As you're interviewing Nick Fuentes, you might try suggesting to him that he reads my book, Stalin, Mum and Dad. It's called Two Roads Home in the United States. Since he says he's on team, you might like to ask him about the fact that he arrested my mum, tried to starve my mum to death, did starve my grandmother to death, sent my great aunt to the gas chamber, my great uncle, my cousin.
He doesn't
My
care.
grandmother on my father's side ended up being one out of 7 children, the only one that survived the war. So you might ask him whether he wouldn't rather be on team mum rather than team. And as for celebrating Stalin's birthday, well, Stalin took my father, sent him to a state collective farm, sent my grandmother, and to a state collective farm, sent my grandfather to the...
This moral posturing is going to do nothing to Nick. And more people are being radicalized against Israel every day. No one cares. They don't care. The radical left is all good about killing all the Jews, and the radical right's all about killing all the Jews. All that's left are the few liberals and a few conservatives that don't want that shit, and then a handful of boomers and Gen Xers. The rest of our younger generation are okay with dead Jews. This isn't going to work. I don't know what you guys are doing. This is not going to have the effect you think it is. Hassan is one of the largest content creators on the planet, and if you're a Jew in his audience, you might actually get killed.
Gulag, you might try asking why he doesn't celebrate Dad's birthday rather than Stalin's. It may all be a big joke to him, but he complains that he was 18 when someone tried to cancel him. Well, Stalin arrested my mum and my dad when they were 10 years old, so perhaps he might like to reconsider his joke.
See, that's the reality of your jokes, although I haven't ascertained yet whether you are joking when you say that was very cool. Are you joking, or do you actually think he was very cool? The most genocidal
cool.
monster of the last 150 years?
Yeah, the thing is, my generation, we're just done with the pearl clutching. You know,
You might be, but then
edgy...
your generation hasn't gone through what Danny Finkelstein's family went through.
Of course they haven't, and they don't care. You cannot force people to give a fuck about stuff they don't care about. Newer generations of people don't care. And you've been on your platform for the past 2 years bashing Israel. You fed into the narrative. This has been an ongoing thing that the younger generation are okay with dead Jews. I don't know what to tell you. This like fucking crazy defense thing you think you're going to do here, no one's going to show up for this, bro. The younger generation does not give a fuck. We don't have fond memories of Israel, okay? We have constant war that Israel's been doing with Palestine for fucking 60 goddamn years. They've been in the news nonstop. Meanwhile, Muslim influencers have grown in popularity in America and abroad. Major artists and major cultural individuals that have led the cultural zeitgeist for years are on one particular side. Piers, they don't care. You need to attack him where it matters. You have to get into the weeds with him because he doesn't have that good of a command of that. Anytime he talks to someone that has any understanding of the shit that he's bitching about, he looks like a fucking dumbass. But when you give him these softball fucking questions and you just stand on some fucking, altar and act like you're a better person than him, you're just feeding the narrative. Like, you're just playing into the thing that he says you guys are doing. And you're so dumb, you can't even recognize it.
So
Yeah.
maybe the
Remember, this man's like a multi-millionaire that owns a TV show and an entire amount of fucking, a staff that does all this. This was their best attack vector. Like, do you guys not, how am I broke, dude? I don't get it.
pearl clutching has a way to go for families whose family members
Oh my
were
gosh,
murdered.
yeah, we got all that. Me mom, like I don't even know who this person is. Why is this person talking to me? This old British guy is saying me mom got killed by.
Because he
me
doesn't
dad
find
got
it
killed
funny
by...
when you say,
I'm so confused why he doesn't.
Because Destiny isn't even up to date on this. Destiny, for some reason, is brain broken on Nick. Destiny doesn't think Nick is going to go that far. Dog, people thought the same thing of Trump. And this is the type of shit Trump does. We're worried about the next Trump. He's sitting right here.
There are talking points for all of this, right? Or does Nick not use these anymore? Like I said, I don't really
He
watch his
dropped
stuff.
it. He doesn't
except for whatever
care.
gets clipped. But the thing is, well, what about the 13 million Germans or whatever that were relocated and were kicked out of their countries after the end of World War II? Or what about all the dead Armenians that we
Hitler's
never
very
talked
fine.
I don't
about?
care.
They are mask off. They don't need to fucking run this defense. Enough people hate the Jews. You know this. Come on, D. Come on, bro. The only people that are holding up Jews are boomers and fucking Gen X. That's it, dude.
The only one that survived the war. So you might.
for families whose family members
Oh my
were
gosh,
murdered.
yeah, we got all that. Me mom, like I don't even know who this person is. Why is this person talking to me? This old British guy is saying me mom got killed by.
Because he
me
doesn't
dad
find
got
it
killed
funny
by...
when you say,
I'm so confused why he doesn't. There are talking points for all of this, right? Or does Nick not use these anymore? Like I said, I don't really watch his stuff except for whatever gets clipped. But the thing is, well, what about the 13 million Germans or whatever that were relocated and were kicked out of their countries after the end of World War II? Or what about all the dead Armenians that we
Hitler's
never
very
talked
fine.
I
about?
don't care.
He finds it
I
Because
don't...
Turkey's a U.S. ally, or what about there's a million other people who were injured or whose families were displaced after World War I and World War II, but we don't seem to talk about that. It's only the Jews, right? This is the go-to talking point.
No empathy in the younger generations. People might be that. They might have 40% of the younger generation is left, but they're in the minority, dude. Charlie Kirk was so successful at brain rotting our young people. People don't understand how successful that man was.
God damn it! I just dropped something on my keyboard. I don't know why he.
I didn't even know. You know what I mean? I watched a video recently about how successful Charlie Kirk was, and that hateful little bigot fuck did so much damage to America. People are so underprepared for what's coming.
Why would you go with the "who cares about this guy and his dead family"? I feel like that's why would you? That's like the only road that you shouldn't go. I don't know.
I know you don't care. That's fine. You don't have to care. But he does care.
Does that guy care about America? Does that guy care about me and my country and my family? No.
He
that guy
cares what you,
that's
a
the
prominent
problem.
conservative in America, has to say about Adolf. And what do you mean?
That guy doesn't care about Nick. It's fake civility. That's the problem. I mean, a majority of people don't care about a majority of people. We say a lot of nice things when we're on camera. You know what I mean? Like when these politicians come out, they're not telling you like the truth. They're telling you what they think you want to hear so they can motivate you to vote for them, so they can make the changes that they think is best for those that are immediately around them, their town and their community. They don't care about all of the fucking Democrats. They don't care about everyone's problems. They care about the core issues they run on. A majority of people do that. A majority of people vote that way, by the way. Like some people will vote down a single line, you know, on single issues. We saw that in the last election. Israel-Palestine was a hot button issue. And people didn't vote for Harris because they thought she was going to be more of Biden, despite the fact that Biden and Harris were better than Trump. But people had this perception that they were just as bad. That was a single issue that they decided, I love you, Nikki, but I love you, the game. Oh, you fucking. Yeah, I'm almost done too, man. I don't know if I'm going to get to the end of this or not, bro. I can never finish these, dude.
It's very cool because I think he's very a monster.
Very fucking monster. Of course he's a monster, but everyone agrees with that. But it just made you look cringe. Come on, man. Fuck.
Dead family. I feel like that's why would you that's like the only road that you shouldn't go.
I know you don't care. That's fine. You don't have to care. But he does care.
Does that guy care about America? Does that guy care about me and my country and my family? No.
He cares what you, a prominent conservative in America, has to say about Adolf. And what do you mean by it's very cool? Because I think he's very a monster.
And that's a clip. I think he's very a monster. Do you hear yourself?
Yeah,
I mean, can we all grow up?
I do.
Can we all grow
He
up?
murdered
That is
12
just
million
childish.
people. He murdered 12 million people. What is very cool about that? Tell me.
The edits, it's just cool. The uniforms, the parades, it's cool as a guy. You look at World War II, and it's fascinating, and it's interesting, and it's compelling, and it's cool. And you know, we're just tired of saying these kinds of things. We want to talk like real people and give our honest opinions. And then we literally get an old Jewish guy from England who's going to say, "Oh, it's not very funny, mate. Me mum." And it's like, shut up. Like, you know, no one is in favor of genocide. So let's just get that out of the way. We're not in favor of a Holocaust or genocide.
Do you think if half your family you think if half your family had been wiped out by very cool, you'd still think he was very cool? Or would you think that actually he was a despicable monster who murdered 12 million people, who targeted people because they were disabled or Jewish or Romani Gypsy or whatever it may be, and that he systematically destroyed people, incinerated them in gas chambers?
Can you counter your own Nick talking?
I mean, like, I don't know why he's asking that. Asmongold has already come out and said that he's okay with mentally handicapped people being killed in America. And he's very vanilla compared to Nick Fuentes. These people do not care, and they're being incentivized not to give a shit. They're being paid now to say the most unhinged shit, and you coming out here sticking your nose up to it is just giving them more money. This is not working.
Points. I'd like to know why they're wrong, please. They're not wrong. Jewish people do make us talk about the Holocaust too much. I don't care about the Holocaust anymore. I want to learn about the Holodomor, okay? Because the tankies are too strong in our country. No, I mean, like, the actual talking points that... the thing is that the Holocaust was a uniquely horrible and evil event. Like, that, like it was probably the most effective, like, organized mass killing in all of human history. That's a pretty insane way to go about things. Absent the existence...
It was, like, systematic, too. Like, it was crazy. It was absolutely insane. Absolutely unhinged.
All of human history. That's a pretty insane way to go about things. Absent the existence of Israel as a country, who the fuck even knows if Jewish people would exist in that much of a form? Like, you're talking about the elimination of basically half these people, right? That was a pretty for not even like a good reason too, you know. Not that there's ever a good reason to mass murder a group of people.
But I mean, so I know what he's trying to say here, and like. If you were to say, you know, someone attacks you guys, right? They come in and it's just World War II, fuck it. When Pearl Harbor happened, America was going to come out with his dick out. Now, many people question if dropping those nukes was a good thing. One, no. We should not have dropped nukes on Japan. But two, Japan wasn't going to stop. sometimes countries do bad things. Sometimes they do them for the bad things for the right reason. Sometimes you have to bear that burden no matter what. Now, don't worry, Japan won in the end. They've mind rotted all of our young people into being into, well, shit, such as being weebs and shit. But, you know, they have some dope art sometimes, you know, as long as the thing isn't 5. Jesus Christ. Fucking neats.
But like, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty. That was like it was like factory farming except applied to Jewish people. Yeah, not good. Not good.
Do you think that you would find it very cool if your family had been through that? Or do you think you would find it very disgusting? And perhaps moderate the number of times you laugh about it, or want to joke about it, or want to abuse someone like Danny Finkelstein, who's written incredibly powerful books about what happened to his extended family at the hands of the Nazis and your other hero, Stalin.
Wait, hold on.
See, my point to you, Nick,
how the fuck is he abusing him? You having an opinion is not abusing him, Piers. You're like, no, you just gave him an attack vector to come. Are you doing this intentionally?
Is that in parts of this interview, you try to come across as moderate, but every now and again the mask slips, and it slipped again here with what you say about him. There's nothing very cool about it. We know that from history now. We know what he did. You've already conceded that he murdered at least 6 million Jews. So when you say he's very cool, Jewish people watch this and go, this guy's disgusting. Why would he say this about someone who perpetrated such an evil? And what's the real answer? Why do you? Is it just for clicks? Is it for money? Is it just for fun? For shits and giggles? What is it? What motivates you to say something like, it was very cool?
It's for this. It's for all of this. And the lack of self-awareness is amazing. You're a boomer. You're a 60-year-old boomer. And we spent maybe 3 minutes on you saying, he's a really monster. He incinerated people. And I'm sitting here saying it's not that serious. It's not that deep. And
not that
what
serious.
I'm getting at,
not that serious.
Do you want to say more about he's a monster?
You're not a kid yourself anymore. You're not a teenager.
I know.
Right? You're nearly 30, to be clear.
Yeah,
okay? You're a fully formed adult who has a brain, right? And at some stage, that brain is taking you off these rabbit
warrens. Is this an interview or is this a lecture? Can I respond to what you're saying?
I want you to explain why you think it's fine to say how cool Hitler is and to dismiss the very powerful 90 seconds from a British journalist who lost a lot of family members to the Nazis in such a callous, dismissive manner.
God, he's got such a smug face. I've never wanted to backhand a bitch so hard in my life. And I look in the mirror sometimes. But god damn, Nick Fuentes just has the most punchable face on earth. I want to do it. Nick, dude. You can kick me in the dick, but I'm going to at least take that cheek off you, man. Come on. He's such a pussy. He wouldn't do it.
I don't think it's powerful. I think we've been hearing that our entire lives. Okay, the Schindler's List. Let's just be honest. The propaganda is over the top. We have been in America.
What about the Schindler's List? Tell me about the Schindler's List. Tell me about the Schindler's List.
I'll tell you about it. We have been browbeaten as a people, as Americans, as Westerners, for our entire lives. And you know what this has done? It has taken away any sense of pride, any sense of love for our own civilization. We have been made the villain.
From America? What, bro? You're mixing up the CRT and DEI and slavery education talking points with the anti-Semitic BDS talking points. Or yeah.
And in our own story, we have been
actually, he's not though, because what Destiny doesn't realize is he thinks that all of those are born from Jewish propaganda. That he thinks all forms of diversity, inclusiveness are mind control things for the Jewish state to push into people. So I mean, not really.
Because let's just be clear, it doesn't begin and end with is a monster. This has been the political narrative, which is why we've thrown open the borders. This is a political narrative, which is why we can't be a conservative society as a whole anymore, why we can't be proud of Europeans, why we can't be proud of being Christian, because they've told us if you're too...
You can't be proud of being Christian, by the way. To be a Christian is to be a retard. That's right. I'll still use that word occasionally for Christians. Fuck Christianity. Uh-oh. I heard my girlfriend hear that. She's mad at me. Oh, God.
Destiny, the deaths were horrible, but just like the Armenian genocide, the dehumanization and cruelty is the real nightmare part, and the fact that things like the Armenian genocide are not recognized or punished, it just opens up future iterations. Yeah, that's bad, but like, please, God, don't say that I'm signing off on the genocide of the Armenians. I'm pretty sure when the Turkish people did their revolution and they wanted their own country, they were like, this is a country just for Turks, okay? Get the f*** out if you're Greek, if you're Armenian, whatever. Like, there might be a part of the history that I don't know, so maybe this did happen and I missed it. But like, if there was an opportunity for Turkey to trade or get rid of all the Armenians in a way that didn't involve just killing, 1.5 million of them, I think they probably would have been fine with that. Like they did with the Greeks. They traded like 1 million Greeks back. They were like, oh, here, fucking take them. Whereas for Germany, like that guy really.
Hey, it's Donna Rhymes. What's up, baby? Sheesh.
He did want to kill like all the Jews. Like when he would take new territory or make alliances with countries or whatever, like this guy was literally like talking to other leaders or temporary leaders he would install and be like, I need you to make sure that you're getting all the Jews out of here. You need to kill all these motherfuckers. It was like an obsessive hatred. And it's not like the Jewish people threatened like the German progeny or the German people like in any measurable way. Whereas like for the Turkish people, they might be like, well, there's a lot of Armenians to encapsulate in a new country. Like it was, I guess you could argue this is part of what you're saying for the dehumanization. They were like the Jew obsession was really over the top. It was like some wild
white and too proud and too Christian, it's going to lead to a Holocaust. And so my generation, our entire lives.
Honestly,
No, it's true. And that's why people like me. That's why I'm popular. Because
honestly,
yeah, it's a crock. You don't want to hear anymore about me mom and me dad.
No, listen. What you just said is a crock of shit. And you know
true. It's called the open society.
In your gut, you know it is. You weaponize this stuff. You weaponize this stuff for money, but when you say something like what you just said.
I'm banned from banking. I'm banned from banking and credit cards. You know who you're talking to?
Yeah, you can't attack Nick Fuentes on money. He did this for free when he lost everything. He is entirely funded by his audience. You can't say he's doing this for money. He was incredibly poor because of these decisions. I would say that this fucking monster believes this shit. And it's not just a grift. Because, I mean, if it was the worst grift in the world. It fucked him up for 10 years, man. And yet he's still committed to that bullshit. He's like Bernie Sanders, but in reverse. Bernie Sanders is a social democrat and has been for 30 years. Actually, this time, 100 years. That motherfucker is father time. But, like, this motherfucker could have abandoned all of his bullshit and he would have been accepted back into society. And he doubled down. You have him on your show right now and he's quadrupling down. What?
I do it for money. How much money you make? Your company's worth $100 million. Your company's worth $100 million. I was banned from Bank of America. I'm banned from processing credit cards.
And you shouldn't have been.
But I am. So don't tell me I'm doing it for money.
Well, ask me my opinion about that. I'll tell you shouldn't have been. Right? I don't agree with that. What happened?
Then don't say I'm doing it for money, because you know that full well, and you say it's a grift.
How much money
if I wanted to be a grifter, I'd be like you.
How much money?
Destiny. So the white papers played no part. Which white papers are we talking about? I'm not sure what you're referring to there.
I would say,
how much money are you making?
I'm making a lot of money now. Yeah. Now that I'm the #1 live streamer in America, because people agree with me more than they agree with you. We're tired of hearing about slavery and the Holocaust.
#1.
I don't think he's #1, but he's gaining a lot of popularity that he shouldn't, and it's not good. The biggest streamers are like the worst people, bro. Hassan, Nick Fuentes, Jesus, Andrew Tate. He wasn't a streamer, but that motherfucker was toxic.
Live stream in America.
And Jim Crow, we're done hearing about that. You guys I'm
not done hearing about that.
Okay, well, your generation's on the way.
Yeah, like why would we give a fuck what you are, Piers? You're a fucking nobody, and you're a boomer fuck that doesn't even live in our country. And why would anyone give a fuck about your opinion? What? People watch your show because of the people you bring in, not because of you. What the fuck? You're the laughingstock of journalism. You were kicked out of America. You got Trump's dick so far down your throat that you look like the biggest fuck. I don't even know how you're going to sit here with a stick up your ass and pretend like Nick Fuentes and you were different. The difference is he's got the balls to say the evil shit he's saying. You just run defense for it. You sick fuck. You both deserve each other.
Out and Generation Z is coming up, and we're finished with that. We're ready to take our country back.
I've got 3 sons. I've got 3 sons, and they don't share your view.
You have no control over your sons, you absolute fucking dipshit. You have no idea what your sons do. You don't know what fucking porn rooms they're hanging at, what chat rooms they are, what they say when they're gaming, who they're watching. You absolute fucking ape. What kind of defense is this? I have 3 sons, and they would never do this. What the fuck? You know what would be crazy? What if like one of his sons comes out as like a rapist tomorrow? Like, you know what I mean? They'd be like, well, okay, well, one of them was dog shit. Like, what the fuck? If they're your kids, they're probably fucked. You're so fucking dense that you think Donald Trump was a good thing for America. I don't trust your ability to parent either.
about
Yeah, well.
slavery and about the Holocaust. They can have decency and compassion and humanity about some of the worst things that have happened.
Oh, but not for immigrants and brown people in my country. Got it. Okay, cool.
In the last 100
Look up the Madagascar plan. Oh, because people say that at some point, like, or initially they wanted to ship all the Jews out. I would have to go and read more about it. My understanding is those were never, like, pursued that seriously. That, like, when they call it, like, the final solution, it was more like we've tried nothing, and now we're all out of ideas, so time to kill them all.
So pretty much like every Republican ever. We've never tried to fix Medicare or our healthcare system. Let's just tear it down. Or pretty much any lefty that is so far left, they think that completely destroying the system of governance and our system of commerce is a smart thing to do because they're on the bottom end of that system. Smart. How many people would you kill? They don't care. They just like to bitch about their talking points.
But I could be wrong. I don't have, like, the strongest World War II history. But my idea was there was never, like, a super strong commitment to shit like that. That it was, like, always, like, half-assed. And it was like, oh, no, you know, we tried to move some out. Now we don't care. Let's kill them.
50 years or more. They
Sound
can,
like
they can do that, and they can also have concerned views about issues like immigration and other issues. The two things are not mutually incompatible.
Oh, there we go. So I was right. They hate brown people in their country, but my God, man, you better suck that Jewish dick. You're just proving his whole argument. You can't be a fucking immigrant guy that hates immigrants and then complain. It's just dumb.
You can have different views.
British white papers of 1939. I don't know what are you talking about for Israel-Palestine? What does that have to do with the Holocaust shit that we're talking about now?
About different things. It's your lack of humanity and compassion for people about things like the Holocaust, about slavery. It's that people find so contemptible. And I don't understand why you need to do that. Again, I just ask you, is your motivation financial?
Why would he be compassionate about those things? They don't affect him. He's a Gen Z guy. He's self-absorbed. These are kids that grew up on tablets. Everything is about them. They're not concerned about anything around them other than how it affects them. They're like the personification of the id, and every generation thinks the one below them is worse.
Is your motivation for fun? What is the motivation for saying these outlandish things, which you don't need to say, and which I suspect, I don't know, I suspect a lot of it is performative. So what is the motivation?
I'm an iconoclast. The Holocaust is not my religion.
Great Britain put a hard cap on Jewish immigrants to British-mandated Palestine, was $75K per year. Okay, what about it? I don't know what your question is.
And it is treated like a religion. It is treated like a religion with dogma, with blasphemy laws. And that secular religion says, and you say...
Ironically, he props up a religion that's entirely held together by dogma and blasphemy and bullshit. And if you question it, that religion used to kill you. And he wants to go back to that. So, like, I mean, the man's just a fucking hypocrite. Like, they only care about these things because there's money to be made for it. Eventually. There's enough counterculture on one side after long enough. If you scream into the void for long enough, something will scream back. And he found it. And a bunch of bigoted little assholes that want to sit there and agree with him. Ironically, Destiny's own fucking son is one of them. What a total bummer. But edgy kids do edgy things. Just the way it is, man. We always hope that people grow out of these dipshit moments. That's all you can do, man.
You say that's a crock of shit. It's intentional. It's called The Open Society by Karl Popper. It's by these architects of the liberal order after World War II. They got together and they said, how can we make sure that never happens? How can we make sure that totalitarianism never happens again? And they came up with the consensus, which is that we need to take down nations, religions, fathers, the authoritarian personality.
Those are all good things. Fuck religions. Fuck nations. We want a world religion. The religion of America.
We need to be empathetic and altruistic. We need to be diverse and pluralistic. And that experiment isn't working. And I'll tell you the truth, right now.
It is working. People are living healthy lives every day and doing fine. Just a handful of people are getting caught in the webs because the handful of people will get caught in the webs regardless of what system we use. Our goal should be to mitigate those instances as much as possible. So when they prop up, we come up with remedies, or we try to find out why they're propping up to begin with. We need to continue working towards these things. It's just not, let's try this and we're done and it fixes everything. This is a society. It takes continual commitment from everybody. Always. Every day. You don't get to like tune out one day and do whatever the fuck you want. You have to continually recommit to being an active member of your society every day and to uphold the laws and norms of that society. And if you think they're going in the wrong direction, you need to voice that with your opinion. You need to try to motivate people to be real. You can't just like, sit in your own hug box and wait for the world to be there. Like, the world around us is the world that we create. Our environment, though it molds us, is under our control in so many different ways. We don't get to control every aspect of it, but the world we want is the world we create. Be the change. What the fuck? This is simple shit.
And you can laugh at this, you can scoff at this. Our people are being genocided in our country. 50% of the live births in the United Kingdom and in the United States are non-white.
Whoa! Destiny, you may laugh, but Fuentes has more clout right now than you and Hassan combined. Instagram Reels is filled to the brim with his clips. I'm not even in the US and all my friends see his clips there. That might be true for some algorithms. I'm not denying that, I guess, but I still feel like sometimes people are overplaying this. Like I like a lot of racist shit on my Instagram and everything. And I think I've seen one reel of Nick Fuentes in my entire life on Instagram. So for some people, they have like, people are saying like, oh my God, that gets everywhere. It's like, I don't see it at all. But I'm sure there are certain algorithms where you get like fed more of it. But
in 100 years, my ancestors, your kids who are so empathetic and compassionate, they're going to be a minority. They're going to be a minority in maybe a Muslim country, an Indian country, an Hispanic country. And these Jewish people that are 100 years old talking about my grandparents and the Holocaust, they don't care about that. Actually, they like to see it. At the SPLC, they're literally counting down the days until whites are a minority in America. So forgive me if I don't believe them when they talk about compassion. There's a genocide going on right now. It's not against the Jews.
How many Christians are there?
In Gaza, it's against
How many
whites.
Christians are there in the world? Let me.
I will admit, this is one of my favorite things to do, and Piers is doing it too. It's really weird when Christians pretend to be these weird victims. Like, they're after Christmas, or, war on Christmas, or you can't even be a Christian. Dog, you're like 70% of America. When I was growing up, you were in the 80% of America. That's not like 80% of people who vote, but 80% of Americans were Christian. You aren't the minority, dude. And you never will be. Quit fucking crying. Being an atheist was worse in the day than being gay. You know how many people are like, oh, I thought you were going to tell me you were gay or an atheist. Oh, my God. I remember when I told my mom I was an atheist. My God, dude. Holy fuck. Telling my dad I'm bisexual was easier than telling my mom and dad that I don't believe in their sky fairy. Holy shit, my guy.
1 point some billion,
Yeah,
2 billion.
How many Jews are there?
15 million.
Okay. So with a straight face, you're going to tell me the world is being overrun by the Jewry, by 15 million people, when there are over 1 billion Christians. There is a genocide of Christians like poor old Nick Fuentes going on at the hands of these 15 million Jews. Really?
he got 60K concurrent views on Rumble.
See, this attitude is why you're losing. When you say
Who am
poor
I losing
old
to?
white people,
Who
these
am I
poor
losing
old
to?
white people.
Who am I losing to?
You're seeing it, mass migration. Oh, you're losing to me. We are losing as a civilization of mass migration. And here's the difference.
Like that people are going to eat that up. People are going to eat that up. Dude, young people love that shit. He's rude. He's a dick. Like, people love that shit. And we know that when we were in our 20s and 15s and 17s, 19s, 20s, up to 25s, Howard Stern and South Park and Family Guy were the most popular things on fucking TV and radio. The 90s was filled with rancid, racy shit. And then PC culture came in. He's bringing that terrible shit back. But unfortunately, he's wrapping it in straight up racism. Fuck! Sorry.
In Israel, they have my politics. In Israel, they want to maintain a Jewish majority. If they had it their way, it would only be Jewish people. They're fighting like...
He's not wrong. There's a reason why they don't want to let in so many Palestinians is because they want to keep a certain level of their population Jewish. A majority of countries are the same way. Japan doesn't really want to do a lot of immigration because they want to keep a majority of their citizens Japanese. Not a lot of countries have done what we have done, or Canada has done, or the UK has done. we're willing to import a lot of people from different countries because if someone wants to come to this country and work, they should. You should be able to work in America if you want to. You should come to Canada and work if you want to. That's fine. If you want to commit a life to these things, that's cool. That should be something that we can work on. The biggest problem is that they have a lot of other arguments to pull from. Yes, a majority of countries around the world are of one people. What we're doing in America and what we're doing in Canada and the UK is a new thing that hasn't been done everywhere. And we're always going to have hiccups because of that. We're asking cultures of different people to get together in unity and work towards a common goal. That's not something that's going to be easy. We have different religions. Arguably, I'd argue that if religion was gone, we'd probably be better. We have different sets of values enshrined by our culture or by our DNA. People are different across the world for different reasons. They breathe different air, even though it's the same air. It could have different toxin levels. It could have whatever, dude. Their water could be slightly different. People that live on islands are going to have expanded lungs because they have to swim underwater more. Our bodies evolve in different ways. To point out those differences is supposed to be the beauty of our culture, that we can be a melting pot or, in Canada, a mosaic where all of these things come to exist together. Now, I'd argue a melting pot is probably a better idea because then at the end of the day, you have to agree to American values to be in America. There'd be less toes to step on that way, but let's see how Canada works out. I'll be able to report on that over the course of the next 20 years.
Hell, so the Jewish people can have as much territory, a Jewish state, they can be proudly Jewish in their own land, whereas in America, we are being besieged by 10 million illegal immigrants in 4 years, and then whites and Christians are going to be the minority. And that's true in Canada, Australia, all the countries in Europe. So you could say there's
I forgot about Australia. Australia's doing that shit too.
2 billion people, but what's the proportionality? What is the percentage of people being born that are white? Where's the arrow pointing? Where are we going to be in 50 years? In 50
Who gives a fuck?
years, there might be in Israel. In 50 years, there isn't going to be a white Christendom.
You don't believe people should get married, right?
The one thing I don't understand too, sometimes I think maybe I overthink this or overanalyze it. Because do you have to do the Jew? Like, I feel like Nick would have a much higher ceiling on what his popularity could be, or he would uncap it if you could just like drop the Jew. Like, do you really think? Can't you? Because you can do all the same xenophobic, racist stuff around immigration or mass migration or whatever. Like, you can do all these talking points without having to have the Jew. And I feel like the Jew shit can just turn off so many people, and you don't.
I hope that Destiny is right. I'm fearful that I'm seldomly wrong on such things.
Need the Jew. And like a lot of people that are turned on by the Jew aren't even going to be your natural allies anyway. Like Fuentes is never aligning himself heavily with like all the Arabs or like the tanky lefty people. I don't know, but maybe he genuinely believes it. I guess maybe it might be a thing that he actually heavily believes in.
I think people should get married. I'm a Christian.
You're basically anti-marriage, really. You've talked about this. You've talked about.
Are we done talking about white genocide?
Well, I'm coming to the same part because you seem very resistant to the idea of marriage. You've never got married. You've talked very scathingly about henpecked husbands. Let's take a look.
That's true.
Guys get to a certain age and they're like, you know what? Women suck.
Why would Destiny want Nick to do well? He doesn't want him to do well. He's pointing out that he understands Nick's way of thinking. He's showcasing that he can think about an argument from another perspective, which is rarely done in these cycles. But also, I think Destiny could be wrong that he thinks that people are not going to be okay with the Jew hate. I don't think we're there, dude. I think that America is going to be pretty okay with hating on Jews, especially as boomers exit and younger people come in.
Like, they're talking too much. They're not hot anymore. Like, you're fat, you're chubby, you're not as hot as you think you are. You talk too much, you're a bitch.
Jeez.
So we'll obviously get to the brazen misogyny part of that a little later. But I'm just curious. On the one hand, there's this terrible genocide going on of white people. On the other hand, you want people effectively to stop going near women because they all turn out to be so ghastly, so they shouldn't presumably procreate. So how does that work? I mean, aren't you with your rhetoric?
The biggest problem that Nick Fuentes does and the Red Pill movement does is they'll take a kernel of truth. A kernel. They'll say something like, women dictate the marketplace of romance and money. And you'll be like, fuck, that makes sense. Women pick the mates. And they understand that because they were tailored to do that for like thousands of years. Women are supposed to pick men that could take care of them. Over the last 60 plus 70 years, we've been slowly adding female rights to the docket, and women are becoming more prolific in our society. One of the problems that the red pill people have isolated is that they have found some shitty study or some shitty thing that'll say that women do not date outside of, they don't date beneath their stature. Well, there's a reason for that. Women are willing, you know, some women will still date beneath their stature. They're like, this isn't like a wholesale thing, right? But why would a woman date beneath her stature? She has multiple people to pick from. She is the first person in the race. Women have a harder time picking mates correctly, and because the decision they make has serious repercussions. Even for something in a perfect relationship where two people genuinely love one another, a woman still has to give a portion of herself away and being with that man. There's a big chance she could lose her last name, a portion of her family identity. Women, through our culture, have been designed to be given away. So, of course, if a woman is going to be stuck, she's going to want to be stuck in a relationship that's going to be the most beneficial for her. That isn't to say that women are entirely pragmatic with these decisions, but women have a higher level of emotional intelligence, and loving for them is harder than it is for a man. More men are willing to settle on anyone, and that's because our society has largely left men behind. And you can see that with the way men act. Nick Fuentes is a direct result of that, and so are the people that watch him. These are people that were invisible for years, people in the backgrounds doing shitty jobs. So Nick Fuentes comes out and he has a charming smile, says all the racist shit your friends say that you are around and shit, and he comes off like one of the guys. The problem is he's not. He's manipulating you. He's feeding into your fears of insecurity, and he's making you point the finger at people who aren't coming for your job. Like, he is just using salesman tactics to push his ideology and propaganda out there. This is the same thing that someone does when they work a counter at, you know, the local shop where there's someone who's selling you cars. He's being a salesman. The problem is he's like finding and isolating areas in which you feel insecure, and he drives that home. The Republicans have been doing this for years with their nonstop assault on immigration. It's easier for men that are losing their jobs and seeing their pay decrease over time to become bitter to those that they think that are doing it. As women entered the workforce, we had a massive pool of other people to compete for jobs. People are willing to do the job for less. The bigger the pool, the harder it is to maintain like decent value. So like as more and more of these jobs are being created, the overall kitty that they can pull money from is diminishing. This isn't that women are stealing jobs. It's that women are entering a dynamic workplace and they've expected both of these people to be working, so they're going to pay someone less. Back in the day, a single father could afford a house for most parents or most homes because that was the societal norm back then. Jobs were designed for that, to be competitive. They paid tremendously well, and our market reflected that. But now our market is built around two people working at all times. And people are paid essentially under that market. The society dictates all of these things. What we need is for more homes to be built. But no one wants to vote on such issues because by doing so, a majority of people who have capital have it tied up in their homes. Most people are not as rich as we think they are. A majority of their money funnels through their house.
Actively encouraging men not to associate with these ghastly women, therefore not have any more children. Therefore, you are contributing, Nick Fuentes, to the diminishing white population. I'm confused.
I tell my followers to get married all the time. I tell them that it's best for everybody to get married. And I think that's the only way that you can have sex. I think that's the only licit way as a Catholic is
Why don't you
to
get
have
married
sex
then?
is within marriage.
Why don't you get married?
I'll get married later. It's been difficult for me because people are shooting at me at my house. I don't know that I don't want to have kids and a wife. You know, my
At this point, don't you think it's helping him to hate Jews? Isn't anti-Semitism really popular right now on both sides?
Yes.
I mean, arguably, yeah, but I don't think it's good to build movements off of like spooky boogeyman enemies like that, especially when it's all bullshit or it's like 95% bullshit. It just like Fuentes has the capacity to build a movement on stronger ideas right now. That's why he pushes stuff like education and college more, and he tries to not do like the low IQ shit that MAGA does today. So I feel like he could drop the Jew shit, but maybe he actually believes it. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Wife would be screaming about that. Me, you know, I have to be able to take risks and be able to say these things. It's difficult to bring a family into a life that's like that. But for my followers, I tell them to get married. But what's happening with women?
You literally just told your followers, hang on, in that clip, you literally told followers, women, they get old, they get fat, they get ugly, they get very annoying. So where's the incentive to get married to women?
That is not true. Like, if you are only valuing a woman's appearance, then you are not worthy of love. There are beautiful women, regardless of how you might perceive the way they look. Your job as a person is to have your taste adjust with your age. You know, if you're 10, you're probably going to look at girls that are 10 and go, hell yeah, brother. And then when you're 20, you're probably going to look at girls that are 20, you know? But then, like, when you hit 30, you just do whatever, man. Though you should probably aim higher than lower because, you know, you want to avoid any allegations of being, like, you know, someone who, you know, owns a white van. But, like, I mean, people should evolve their taste as they age. If you're fucking 55 years old and you're sitting there looking at 10-year-olds going, fuck yeah, someone should call the police. And if you're 10 years old and looking at a 55-year-old man going, fuck yeah, someone should call the police. What is happening in your home, bro? Other than that, bro, like, bro, people's age, like, your opinion of women should, like, age with you, you know? This idea that every man has to have a 20-year-old fucking wife is insane. Anyway, it's fucking ridiculous, man.
There isn't one. You're actively telling them
you're
the opposite.
You're extrapolating a lot. We can complain.
Just quoting you back yourself. Yeah.
No, but you're extrapolating and saying, well, you say women are annoying, so therefore, what's the incentive? We have to do it in spite of the fact that they are annoying. We have to do it in spite of the fact that they talk too much. We can get them to lose weight. We can put them on peptides.
Jesus Christ, man. He's just going to own it, dude. He's just going to own this shit. And the crazy thing is, women throw themselves at him now. So, I mean, fuck, dude. He's kind of proving their point sometimes. Women are fine the way they are. You don't have to put women on peptides in order for you to have a good relationship. Jesus fucking Christ.
Can get them to the promised land, but it's going to be.
Do you think this view of women may be why none of them want to go near you?
Oh, you should see my DMs. It is quite the opposite. They're called the Groy Bets, and I'm actually batting them away. Granted, not all of them are attractive. Some of them are attractive.
Oh, you actually?
God damn. Bro, you're not even attractive yourself, dude. I mean, look. Yeah, dude. This dude's fucking insane. Like, Jesus Christ. Dude, you look like a scrunched up toothpick, dog. Like, like, yeah, you might be thin and shit, but you got a twink body, dude. You're not over here being manly. Like, I don't get why you get to... You're like super effeminate. Like, why are you talking shit about the ladies, bro? You dress and act like one. This guy openly admits to going to Starbucks and getting like his little liberal shit, his white hot chocolates and stuff. I mean, he's been found to like, didn't he like get caught like having sex with a femboy, or doesn't he have a bunch of those in his community? Like, I mean, like I ain't knocking it. Bussy is where it's at sometimes, but like, I'm a liberal. I'm okay with that. This motherfucker, that would be like mortal enemy number one. I'm like, what, dude? And like with the way he talks so negatively about women, you would think that like he of course just has a boyfriend at home. Which would like, hey, I'm not knocking gay guys, bro. The gays are my people, man. They make excellent food. I don't like their fashion though. It's too colorful. Just to clear up one of the many theories about you, I have no idea what the answer is, and you haven't got to answer. But are you...
Explain Hassan's revival based off strictly boogeyman fueling his content. Is that how you would describe that? I feel like it's almost the opposite. I feel like Hassan would be one of my examples. I think Hassan boogeyman Jewish people for a long time in the whole Israel how weirdly anti-Semitic and Jew-hating his fan base has become. But like, I think he's got a really difficult time getting a foothold anywhere else at the moment. Like he theoretically could have had opportunities or made more.
The thing that makes me nervous is the amount of people that I see post photos of like a man and his wife watching Nick Fuentes on a Tuesday night or something. There's no way this can be getting normalized, man. Piers did such a bad job.
Opportunities, but he was just obsessively talking about Israel constantly. Holy.
Actually attracted to women?
I am attracted to women.
You're not gay?
No. But I will say that women are very difficult to be around.
Okay.
So there's that.
And do you think they should have the right to vote?
I do not. No, absolutely not.
Jesus. He just owns it, dude. Holy fuck. So a woman isn't intelligent enough to vote? I don't, like, what are you trying to say? Please explain, my dude.
They should stay at home?
Well, yeah, absolutely.
So
Like,
basically,
that has to be such a bad political idea. Like, all you're going to get is men. Men are like 48% of the country. Like, what are you doing? Like, if you wanted MAGA or your movement to be successful, you would mask on somewhat to try and at least get them to vote for you. Like, this guy has no political will. He just doesn't give a shit. He's just trying to get some money.
you're just a misogynist old dinosaur, aren't you? For a young guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm the boomer. I know I'm the boomer here, but actually, you're a 27-year-old dinosaur, aren't you? Aren't you, Nick Fuentes? All women,
I am.
all women are annoying.
I mean, he's a conservative. He wants to conserve traditional values. So, yes, calling him that is something, yeah, I don't, come on, man.
All women grow
fossil.
old. They all get.
Wasn't he losing a lot of viewers before he got to farm Israel-Palestine? I don't know if he was necessarily like on the decline or not before Israel-Palestine, but also keep in mind too, Hassan's goal is different. Like Hassan could still like gain viewers again, but Hassan's goal is to be a social media influencer. He's an influencer, hardcore capitalist guy. That's all he wants at the end of the day. He doesn't care about political power or getting people elected or exercising political power, whereas Fuentes does. So it's a bit different. You want to like stability.
Do you really think Nick Fuentes wants political power? I think he just wants to do it for the memes, my guy. I mean, maybe. I mean, he did help write Kanye West like thing, and I mean, yeah, okay, maybe.
Getting people elected or exercising political power, whereas Fuentes does. So it's a bit different. You want to like stability in Hassan's movement is irrelevant because he's just trying to make money and farm people for dollars and be an influencer. Whereas Fuentes wants to have some kind of political influencer power, right?
Fat. Says the guy. Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid. Wow.
That's the thing.
He's Catholic, dude. His people are going to eat this up. He's not supposed to get laid. He's not married.
Have you ever had sex?
No, absolutely not.
Wow. Says the guy who's never got laid.
That's
Wow.
the thing, though. You boomers, it's
Do you think you're
always
an
get
expert in
laid,
women,
free love.
given you've never got laid?
Yeah, we are going back to the Stone Age. You're absolutely right. This, you know, you're talking about empathy and your kids are empathetic and they would never laugh at a joke about the Holocaust and you're a misogynist. You're a simp yourself. You're totally henpecked. That's the problem. So yeah,
Let
we
me
are
play,
going
let me
back
play
to
another clip of yours about women.
A lot of women want to be, and when I say, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Like, this is a disgusting comment, but he's probably going to like retort back to a majority of women, like on some form of polling, said that they fantasize about that stuff. And he's going to say that's what informed his decision. Like, he's going to be able to walk right out of this. Like, come on, dude. Piers, hit him with some shit.
You think women want to be raped, do you?
That's what the studies show, Piers. That is what these statistics
that's what
say.
you believe,
They
is
have
it?
fantasies. They have fantasies about it. I don't think that they want to actually get, but there's a study out there. Get ready for this. It says 62% of women have fantasies. And if you read anything that they're reading, if you watch what they're watching, what do you think 50 Shades of Grey is about? What do you think Twilight is about? I mean, that's just true.
Jesus Christ. Come on, Pierce. You got to hit him with harder than, like, that's bad. Like, a fantasy does not mean they want to get raped. What the fuck? You're drawing a correlation that isn't there. A fantasy is a safe environment for you to explore societal fucking taboos and do things that are on the abstract periphery. Like, stepbrother porn is very, or step sibling or whatever, incest porn is super huge in America. It's like stepsister's like the #1 search term for Pornhub year after year. But that doesn't mean people really want to go fuck their brother and sister, dude. It's just them expressing something in a dark way, but in a safe, controlled environment. And at the end of the day, the people aren't related that are fucking. Now, some people do dumb shit and cross certain lines. But that doesn't... okay.
What they're watching. What do you think 50 Shades of Grey is about? What do you think Twilight is about? I mean, that's just true.
You think women want to have the shit beaten out of them, as you said?
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and it's very disturbing, but it's true.
Do you think your views on women might change if you actually ever had a relationship with one or had sex and actually had a proper relationship? I mean, people say the reason you're so angry about women is you're basically an incel.
He admitted to being an incel, bro. What the fuck?
Well, I'm not angry about it.
You sound very angry. You sound very, very angry about women.
I'm passionate. It's an issue.
You're passionate. You're sounding very bitter about women, as if women.
Oh God, I'm hearing my argument right now with my girlfriend. Drink. She says I'm angry all the time. I'm like, I'm not angry. I'm just passionate. Damn it. God damn it, Nick. Get the fuck out of here, dude. You're gonna fuck up my life.
have done a terrible disservice to you. But when you don't have relationships, you don't have sex. When are they doing these terrible things to you that's made you so hateful towards women? I'm really curious.
Was that? I don't think that was a hateful clip. I think I was laughing. I said they want men to beat the shit out of them. And that's just true. I mean, when you look at the state of modern women, all they do is lay in their bed, doom scroll. They're chilling out. They're getting a little fat. It is what it is. I don't know what the average
What's happening with the average man, bro?
weight is, but they're getting a little heavy. And any guy that is playing the field these days will tell you that. I mean, and I know a lot of the chads. I am an incel. I'm friends with a lot of chads like Bradley Martin, Clavicular. They agree with me. You know, there's sort of like this alliance between the guys that don't have sex and the guys that get the most sex. We know what women are about. It's the guys in the middle. Guys like you in the middle. It's the beta male orbiters that say, she's amazing, you're a misogynistic pig. Because I don't know what that is. I guess
well, come on, let me explain to you what I think it is. I think when a 27-year-old guy who's never got laid, never had a meaningful relationship with a woman, says that women shouldn't be allowed to vote, they should stay at home, that all they do is fantasize.
Guys, it's almost been 2.5. It's almost been 2.5 hours. I'm gonna just call it here. Piers Morgan let me down so hard. My mom went to the chocolate factory and fell in a chocolate river. Where is the per capita part? That was funny as fuck. I'm not racist, just kidding. I'm actually super racist. He didn't even commit. I hate Nick, but I chuckled at too soon. It's me too, bro. Me too. He got me. It was just. I'm hungry. I'm getting off of this bitch. Nick Fuentes, you are a sick fuck. And I know by uploading this video, your rabid fans will come my way. And guess what? They're sick fucks too. Anyway, peace the fuck out. I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm going to start the upload process and get this one going. The game.
I used to wake up like the world was mine. Now it's just morning again. Used to toy like dreams could bend the sky. Now I just grow till it ends.